The church wouldn't allow politicians to address believers in churches like other churches had decided to do so. He also advised the government to listen to the cries of citizens who are strained by the hiked fuel prices.
We are standing with Kenyans who are crying because of high fuel prices that also translate into high cost of living. The government to cushion many Kenyans from hardship caused by high cost of living, such as tax relief.
It's about time that Kenyans get leaders who will fully address challenges facing them. Speaking in Mombasa County, Kanu Chairman Gideon Moi said that on the 30th of this month, during the Kanu delegates meeting, a very important announcement on the party's future plans will be made.
Tumesema things have to be done differently. They can't be round the mill then. Kusema kila saa tunafanya the same thing the same way and we hope for something different. Kweli, some of the pronouncements we are going to make is going to be extremely shocking. But that is exactly what this country needs. We have, and I have, no business at all with the loud minority. I have every business. Na lengo langu yote is to the silent majority.
He reiterated that Kanu was ready for the presidency come next year, further saying that the party will make every effort to ensure it leads the nation.
Na tuingii kitu to play games. Life is too serious for that. Ukitaka kucheza mchezo uende ligi nyingine. Hii sasa tutaingia ile Super League, Premier League, na tutakuwa na master players. Hata kama tutanunua. Umesikia? Ni uko tayari. Ukifika mashinani waeleze chairman amesema kweni tayari, risasi yuko njiani, anza kuweka oil ile mashigi, tuanze ile vita ya kubadilisha maisha watu wetu.
And finally, PSVs plying their trade in Nairobi will from tomorrow pay between 1,630 shillings and 5,000 more for seasonal parking, following the easing of COVID-19 protocols to allow them to carry passengers at full capacity. KRA has ended the discounted seasonal parking fees it had been charging the PSVs due to the effects of the pandemic. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
No, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, this resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel Nkericho, good morning.
Salama sana, habari asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Seriousness Martin, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Seriousness Martin, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende. Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
It's the tail end of the week, officially Friday, and we see traffic is already building up on many of these Nairobi streets. Mombasa Road, for example, heading out into the city, very slow this morning, but nothing too crazy at the moment. Everything just kind of picking up, especially as you go from the Thika Superhighway into the city. Langata Road is free as air, and it's a breeze driving on that road this morning. Not much traffic coming out of Westlands. Uhuru Highway from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout out into the city centre, absolutely gorgeous. Going into the city, not too much of an issue at all. Let's see how long we can keep this business up. And when it does get sticky, let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text on 40127. It's Friday. Let's get and keep things moving.
This is the Situation Room the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
It's Friday. It's Friday.
Do you actually know the words to that song?
But he's singing the words.
There's no word this man has spoken.
He is.
I just heard it's Friday. The rest
Yes,
is
but those are. But let me ask you,
that's what matters.
Let me ask you something.
Ask me.
Do you understand what he is saying? Or he's singing?
Do you know the song I'm singing?
I know the song you're singing.
There you go.
All right, then. Do you know better words than the ones he is singing to? Or in, of, under, perhaps?
Why are you interrogating me this morning?
No, it's a small inquiry because just a brief one. The thing is, think of the English language not as a language that you are familiar with, but as a foreign language.
City, I know why you're laughing.
Yes, and think of it as a foreign language where your familiarity with it begins and ends with the sounds of the word.
Why are you giving this man an excuse? He's just singing the song, familiar with the tune. It's good, don't worry. I also, because if I tell you the words that I think are in the song,
I
you'll
actually
laugh.
don't get what's the issue.
There's no issue. You see,
Look,
why does it have to be an issue?
The reason why I jumped to his defense as quickly as you hear me jumping to his defense, since you've called it a defense, I was merely making a statement. Is this, There's some music that comes from DRC that I'm particularly partial to. I have no clue what on earth they're singing.
They say music is a universal language,
Yes.
even if you don't understand the words.
None whatsoever. Then I listen to salsa music. I have no clue what on earth they're singing. But I like the music. Yes.
John likes piano from South Africa.
Ask him what they say.
He only knows the whistle. He can only whistle. Good morning to you, everybody. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation this lovely Friday morning. Interesting conversations we're going to be having today. Yes? Yes. Right?
Oui.
Right. Okay, so let's start. Peace.
Peace be unto you too.
Peace I give unto you.
Yes.
Abi, what were we doing?
Not as the world giveth, give
Yes,
unto you.
but give I unto you.
Do not be afraid. Let not your hearts be troubled.
Let not thy heart be troubled.
Yes.
Keep it right here for all those conversations. Let's begin with COVID-19 in numbers. Yeah.
All right. So, the day before yesterday, we were at 230 million. Today, we have increased that number globally to 231,386,985. Those are numbers that we're looking at on a global scale. And we see what's happening in some parts of the world, specifically the Western Hemisphere. In the United States, the big supermarket chains are now rationing how much you can get from the store in terms of drinking water and toilet paper.
Where?
Costco. In the States, because of the surge now. Do you remember the first time COVID hit? And there was this mad rush for drinking water. There was panic buying. And so they're seeing the trend of panic buying again. But it's also happening because you also have a rise in cases in the continental United States, right? So, okay, the computer decided it's not going to allow me to touch it. So, but we've seen a rise in those numbers in the last week or so. So, if we look at what has been happening in the US now is at 43 million cases. And if we just look at those numbers in what they recorded yesterday, being Thursday. those numbers went up significantly. Daily cases went up by 127,463. The last time we saw cases in the US over 100,000 was about 6 weeks ago. And so they've seen this spike in cases. Now, with the spike in cases, more and more people presenting with symptoms, we also now have this panic buying that's happening there at the moment. Okay? So that's the thing.
But has there been a corresponding significance in the uptake of the vaccine?
No. I believe the US still is about 22% of the adult population having been vaccinated so far. And there are calls across state governments to get more and more people to get vaccinated. We haven't seen a radical movement like what we've seen in the Western European countries, France, Italy, etc., where you have to get vaccinated or you have to show a certificate or a pass in order to continue with work, or the threat of suspension if you have not. The US is still pretty liberal about this. Biden and his administration have continued to urge people to get vaccinated. We've seen some states offer cash incentives to people come in and get vaccinated, and you get up to $100, for example. But it hasn't really been any kind of force to say get vaccinated. There have been campaigns about how important it would be and what kind of protections would be offered to you if you did get vaccinated. But the uptake has just been at low. The anti-vax people are, muscled and oiled and ready to go. But 22% is what the United States is looking at. And they keep trying.
It is strange, but when the Spanish flu hit the Americas, the responses were not really very significantly different from what you're seeing here. And the states that were able to overcome the Spanish flu and or to contain it were states that did precisely what people are saying they shouldn't do. They essentially forced it and said, we are going to isolate, we are going to barricade, this is what we're going to do, okay? How to deal with diseases such as this one, or how to deal with a pandemic, what needs to be done has been known for the longest time. It's not that it is not known. Because if it's spreading from one human being to another human being, then it stands to reason that, very simply put, you want to limit the contact those human beings have with each other. Yes. Now, when it comes to COVID, I think the Americas will still have to wrestle with the ideas of whether these freedoms of theirs are actually a help to them, or whether it is an albatross around their necks when it comes to simply understanding what is good for you. However, it is life, is it not?
Be that as it may.
Yes.
Then let's take this break. Yes? It's 6:15. A very good morning. We are already live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And we will be looking at who is online and acknowledging you from wherever you are this morning after we take a look at the weather forecasts.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Tengesa kidole, agano. Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Spice FM. Spice up your life.
Okay, this morning,
The weather
looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 13 degrees. It goes to highs of 24 and lows of 13 today. Nyeri town, light rain at some parts at 14, highs of 22 and lows of 14 today. It's 14 and clear in Nakuru, highs of 25. Come back down to lows of 14. Mombasa this morning, 23 degrees, sunny conditions, what we're looking at. 29 will be the high and lows of 23. Malindi will also be mostly sunny at 26. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 25. It's clear in Eldoret at 12, highs of 23. Into Kisumu, light rain at 18, highs of 27 and lows of 18. While in Kakamega, it's also raining at 17, highs of 26 and lows of 16. All right, let's look out into Kampala, where it's mostly cloudy at 21, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam, partly cloudy conditions at 23. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 30. Johannesburg, clear conditions at 13, highs of 28. 13 will be the low. It's 25 and light rain in Lagos, highs of 30 and lows of 25. And Kinshasa is clear at 22. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 32. Out into Beijing, it's raining at 18. Temperatures dropping, highs of 20 and lows of 18 today. Paris, cloudy conditions at 13, highs of 22 and lows of 12. And in London, it's mostly cloudy at 15, highs of 23 and lows of 15. New York is going to come into Friday with highs of 25 and lows of 17.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. SpiceFM.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It is 20 minutes after 6. People are online, aren't they?
Indeed. Tuned in from Kisumu, Manyata, Moga, Justice Omondi is asking you, when are you giving us a Luo proverb hour?
Oh, I gave one a long time ago, but now that you've asked, chaguo la msikizaji, Monday.
The people from Kimilili are still waiting for you.
Oh, but we gave them a proverb yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, it's true.
Kimilili is in Bungoma County.
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes, we did.
Somebody
so if they're waiting for a second one, well, that's a different story.
Yes. They have to wait a little bit longer.
Yes.
Somebody who sells timber in Nakuru is tuned in. Evans Okalo is tuned in from Kakamega. And Foy is tuned in from Dar es Salaam. Yay! Haven't seen Dar es Salaam in a while. Mina Mary tuned in from Mombasa, and William Kipetu tuned in from Masai Mara. Odoman Jeffrey tuned in from Minneapolis this morning. And the Great Wall of Kino is where Odero is knocking in this morning. Lusaka, Zambia is where Janet Simumba is. Sky Tarish says good morning. All the way from Australia, Bronin Hassan says good morning. George Agal, good morning, CT. Eric and Ndu tuned in from Kisumu. Mwalimu Dominic is following. Chukwemeka Felix Igwe says, I'm a Nigerian, but I'm listening from Dubai, telling you Nigeria to the world.
Yeah.
Polokwane, South Africa is where Lenkon Maifo is tuned in from. Moses Kashari says, thank God it's Friday. Indeed, my brother. And under DJ CT there, Robert Mbogo tuned in. Yeah. Tom Kinasa tuned in from Charlotte, North Carolina. And Juja Farm is loud and clear. University of Nairobi are graduating today. Well done. You will now be given the power to do what? To read. Everybody tuned in. Lawrence Carrier, it's been a while. Good morning from Isiolo. You're tuned in from Isiolo Girls Staff Room. The staff room specifically. All right.
Okay. Lawrence.
Ben Okinda Wood Migori is tuned in and says Naivasha Massive is locked in. Many more people online this morning from around the world. Good morning and karibuni sana.
By the way, I may add a gentleman from Morogoro, Tanzania, Oyoka Sera, listens to us every morning.
Voila.
Kutoka kule Morogoro.
Huko.
Basi.
Ben Omolo is recognizing DJ CTM in the house. Good morning to you, Ben.
DJ CT. That's him on the photo.
This is CT.
Hey.
The smile is from you know that smile that has come from your heart of hearts.
Yes.
CT smiles at you like that, just to know.
Spinning muziki bila jasho. Okay, CT, spin the day's proverb.
Mapenzi bila chuki. Okay.
Wow.
Right. One who has yet to learn to walk cannot climb a ladder.
One who is yet to learn to walk cannot climb a ladder. Kweli. Obvious. Okay. Very good proverb.
That is true, and it falls into the sort of thing that Kenyans would call is an obviosity.
Wow.
Okay. Then let's take a look at the headlines.
Let's.
All right. This big headline in the nation today. What's that about?
Oh, the good doctor who killed his children.
Wow.
There's the assumption that he did actually kill his children, but of course he can't be here to deny or confirm the same because unfortunately he also passed away a couple of days ago.
Yes.
The profile that is being given here by his family members and the friends who knew him. James Gashara was always jovial, empathetic, and spared time for all and sundry, according to parents and friends who interacted with him. His employees describe him as a soft-spoken man who would crack jokes to make his clients comfortable, adding that he loved his son and daughter and he never argued with his wife. So the question remains, what happened? Gakara's children, Dylan Gakara, 5 years old, and Caruana Gakara, 3, both pupils at the Greensteads International School, were on Saturday night found dead in their apartment in Nakuru's Milimani estate, where he lay unconscious in the same house. He died on Wednesday at the Nakuru Level 5 hospital where he had been admitted. According to the police, the obstetrician gynecologist injected his children with a killer substance. This is according to police. Again, because nobody was there, you can't really tell exactly
the order of events.
What happened. And the question is, if this happened, then why would it have happened in this manner? According to a client who recently visited the late doctor at his private practice in Nakuru, Nyeri, I can't tell if something bothered him, but I remember him asking me to forgive him for anything he had not done right. He did this on 2 occasions, and I remember a lady who referred me to him asking me if I had realized that the doctor had been overly apologetic for no apparent reason.
Jesus.
During the pandemic, he would call and just ask us how you were doing. He loved his children, and if you met him... Ask his clients, sorry. He loved his clients, and if you met him at a supermarket, he would be talking to several people he bumped into. He knew how to make people feel special. His employees describe him as a soft-spoken man who would crack jokes to make his clients comfortable. So, his children were also found in the same place, according to police. Now, we don't know the reason that they arrived at this conclusion. And it's a bit blotchy. However, they say that he injected, and not even that he appeared to have, or maybe he did. They say categorically that he injected his 2 children with a killer substance that took their lives almost immediately. An assortment of drugs using syringes and a sharp kitchen knife were recovered at the house. Although the police say that the doctor was behind the murders, his close friends and relatives do not believe this account. According to his elder sister, Mary Gakara, my brother would never do that. He was not that kind of person, and I keep saying that the police need to investigate the matter thoroughly. When he had a problem, he used to share. Nothing has prepared us for this. So it would appear as though accounts from family members and friends that this is just not his nature. He wouldn't do something like this. But from the side of the police, the murders were committed by his hand. And
the police are picking this from the fact that the door was locked and it was locked from the inside. And they had to break into the house. So that I think that's the first deduction that they're coming up with. You know, this door was locked from the inside. There was no sign at all of entry or exit from any other part of the house. So clearly the only person who had locked was somebody who was on the inside.
Right.
And the only adult on the inside is the man who's lying here unconscious.
Sure,
and there are 2 children who are dead.
Under the age of 6 years old.
And they've been injected. So if you just look at that, there's nothing else that you can see and say, there could have been somebody else in this house who came and did this to them and harmed them and then left.
I can understand why they would deduce this from that. Sure. The thing is, though, that there's, even as they say this, they're still a bit unsure, right? That's the only explanation that they have. They cannot see anything else as to what would have caused this. They just can't.
The wife was not at home. The wife had traveled.
Yes, she had traveled, yes.
She was in Nairobi.
She came to Nairobi.
And this is the wife that he married 6 years ago. She's 29 years old, Winnie Odhiambo. And he was 56. But before he got married to Winnie Odhiambo, he was legally married to another woman with whom they had children, the eldest being 20. The woman now lives abroad. Many unanswered questions surrounding the death of this doctor and his 2 children. Family and friends just can't see how this one comes to that. And it's clear.
I have to bring in the subject of mental health here. You see, mental health doesn't just refer to someone who is doing something which is obviously wrong or obviously off. So long as someone is disturbed, and to put it very lightly, they are not in their right frame of mind, they are mentally unwell.
Indeed.
Now, the strains that an individual has, forget the professional strain that somebody undergoes, just in everyday life, who is to tell? Who is to tell what pressures this person may have? What personal pressures this individual may have? Who is to tell?
Indeed, and who's to tell how you would react? Because listen, the accounts of all of these people is that he would never do this. But then again, because of the fact that you're dealing with an individual whose disposition is different from another, you can't tell if Eric would react a certain way if this kind of pressure faced him, or if Ndu would react a different way, bearing the same pressure. You can't tell how individuals react.
Actually, one of the things that many people don't understand, people who appear to be friendly and gregarious and always on top of things, that's a defense mechanism. So if that's what you're looking at, you will not tell whether this person has a problem or not. You can't.
Indeed.
There are people who wear their hearts on their sleeves, and you can tell when they have a problem when you're a mile away.
Immediately, yes.
Yes, immediately. There are others who don't. So, and people like that, as this gentleman has been described, who are concerned about people. Now, these type of people usually don't have people to whom they can actually take their problems. Now, talking about a problem superficially doesn't mean you're talking about what is really bothering you. You know, I have a headache today. Yeah. What's causing the headache? That you don't discuss. I'm feeling a little low today. When you say you're feeling low, what do you mean? How long have you been feeling low? And also, people who are considered go-to people who people go to when they have problems, people rarely consider that they might have problems that may require attention. So if they have a problem, it just festers.
You're a solution provider.
Yes.
You're a problem solver.
Yes.
For people.
Yes.
So, and that's why you constantly keep showing that you're reaching out. Okay, are you okay?
Yes, precisely.
Are you okay?
And your problems don't get dealt with.
Yeah.
And they fester. And with the time, they simply...
Oh, yeah. It's 6:30. What did I just say?
I don't even know what that was.
Okay, time for us to take another quick break and then take a look at the traffic. We will be looking at more headlines in the papers. A very good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
There are so many people peddling what is false, and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafande umbo yako iko na pembe.
Nini umba special.
This is the Situation.
There's inbound traffic on Mombasa Road, just a little bit actually. It's picking up. We saw it actually open up quite late yesterday. Hopefully it doesn't get too crazy. Airport North Road, free as air. Not an issue there at all. Going towards Outer Ring, you'll have a little bit of traffic at the roundabout there, what used to be that roundabout overpass at Embakasi. And then going out towards North Airport is not an issue at all. Industrial area flowing very, very smoothly, as is on Jogo Road. A little bit of traffic here and there just after the train station. Getting onto Landis Road, not going to be too much of an issue at all. Where there is traffic is Langata Road, coming out of Westlands as well. Quite some as you're trying to spill over towards Chiromo. But it looks like everybody took a break from the streets this morning. Langata Road, like we said, has that issue, but the Thika Superhighway is already building up, slowly so, coming off of Survey out then towards Pangani and that stretch towards the Globe Cinema overpass. Apart from that, it doesn't look bad at all. Let's keep checking in and see what it looks like as it opens up. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch with us just in case. Text on 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right,
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Yesterday, the Jubilee Party announced the nomination of Mr. Isaac Ngoge to the Senate, and this is to replace the late Victor Prengay, who had been nominated to the Senate, and he died in a road accident last month. This particular nomination has raised uproar because there was expectation that Victor Prengay, who was from the Ogiek community, this seat would go to another minority tribe, marginalized community. Mr. Ngoge, by the name, does not come from a minority tribe.
No?
No. This is what the community... So, during the funeral, the Deputy President and others were at the funeral. The Deputy President had expressed wishes that, maybe this seat could go back to an Ogiek member, a member of the Ogiek community. Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui had also hoped that the same would happen. Other leaders, the community leaders of the Ogiek, had hoped that the same thing would happen. Yesterday, the Ogiek People Development Program Director Daniel Kobei said the community is shocked by the decision of the Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju. It's a sad day for the Ogiek community, he said. We did not expect that to happen. Many leaders who came to mourn with us during the funeral of Senator Prengay agreed that the seat will belong to the Ogiek. Even Tuju acknowledged that. Governor Lee Kinyanjui released a statement expressing his desire for the Senate seat to be preserved for the Ogiek. He had expressed that desire. He released a statement yesterday saying that move to appoint somebody from outside the Ogiek community is a cruel and regrettable gesture to deprive the marginalized, the poor Ogiek, the only representation they had, is a cruel and regrettable gesture. He noted that the people of Nakuru and their leaders may not be the decision makers in Jubilee, but he said it's clear that consultation and stakeholder engagement had been deleted from the party constitution. Jubilee Party has the unique distinction of employing and paying individuals to bring it down. Self-cannibalization. We are tired of witnessing the continued reckless action by a few people who have personalized the management of a party that belongs to its members, he said. The governor is not happy, right? Nakuru County Jubilee Party Secretary General Peter Cheruiyot, who was one of those who was opposed by the party to replace the late Prengay, said he respected the decision of the party. Now, Raphael Tuju spoke to the Standard, and he said the decision to pick Ngoge, who hails from Nyandarua, was made after their favorite candidate for the Ogiek community, Peter Cheruiyot, was locked out by the IEBC. According to Tuju, that the late Prengay, who died after he was involved in a road accident in August, was representing the youth and not the minority. So that Cheruiyot, who was to be given this nomination, but IBC has locked him out, has now been appointed by the party as one of its senior directors. So we have an Ogiek man now joining the Jubilee Party as one of the senior directors. The Jubilee Party has looked for another youthful person and given the nomination.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not going to talk their way out of this one. What I find strange, we have X number of months to the next elections.
Yep.
Are you telling me the operatives in Jubilee are not aware of what we call optics? You can explain it as much as you like, okay? One Mr. Ngugi may be very capable of doing what is required of him. Why didn't they give Ngugi the director's job and
look
give
for another?
Yes,
Look for another Ogiek.
Yes.
I mean, if this Cheruiyot guy has been locked out.
Yes. Why didn't they look for another one?
He's not. He's not the last one.
Is it really? Is it something? Wait, is it something I don't understand?
No,
Yes, there's something you don't understand.
Yes.
Leave it at that.
I think Eric has a point.
He doesn't know what it is either, but it's okay.
You don't understand.
I don't understand it, and I leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
Those who understand have made their decision, and that's the decision they have made.
Yeah.
Yes.
They live with the consequences. What are you looking at? What else? What other story are you looking at? City.
I am looking at the Nairobian.
Okay.
Okay.
Today is the day.
Today is Friday.
Today is the day.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this article. Why trouble always follows Kingori Mwangi.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So now there's a reason why trouble always follows Kingori Mwangi.
Well, that's a headline.
Kingori Mwangi is a senior police officer.
Very senior.
Very, very.
And at the age of only 37, he was the provincial police officer for Nairobi.
Imagine.
A position that people held when they were in their 50s. Okay, meaning you're really senior in age and senior in rank. Okay. But the thing that makes this man stand out was that he seemed to have been a stickler for law. He has he states a position, stands by it. What caught my attention was after, it is reported of course, after we had the elections in 2007 and we had this problem, we all know what the problem was, he was required, according to this story, to remove the security for Raila Odinga and his wife Ida and the family. And he refused. He said, wait a moment, no. The law requires that they be given security.
Yeah.
Because of his position. Not because he's Raila, but because of his position.
Yes.
And the story goes on to say that because of that, the office of the president decided to teach him a lesson. Now, when you're told you're being taught a lesson, one of the first things that happens in this country is you're transferred. And you're transferred to some backwater, or you're given a position that makes you pause and wonder, so what exactly am I supposed to do with this position, having come from this? But now let me get to the heart of the matter. When we talk about impunity and we talk about the rule of law, unfortunately, you can't talk of one without the other, not in this country.
Yeah.
And if you have examples where you have senior police officers who've decided to go by the dictates of the law, and whatever follows their life later, in terms of what happens to them career-wise, can be seen in only one light, no matter how hard you look, as that of being punished for not obeying instructions.
Right.
You then have to ask yourself the question, who then in their right mind would want to go against the dictates of those who are senior, even if it is wrong? Who will then want to stand on the side of, as we say, the angels and say and do what they consider is right? Because right here seems to mean you are told what to do irrespective of what the law says. Remember yesterday we had a conversation with Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East, and he talked about situations where they had made certain decisions as a committee in Parliament, and they were asked, no, withdraw some names, and they said no. He specifically said, no, we are not withdrawing those names that we mentioned. So you ask yourself, in the name of salvaging the reputation of people who are close to you politically, you then trample on the dictates of the law, and you don't see the net consequences of that, because a message is sent, people who see it understand, and they know the way to survive is not to follow the law strictly. Yes.
Yeah, you follow orders.
Not the law.
No, not the law. All right.
So, judges now say that a judge has now said that pregnancy counts in the division of matrimonial property.
Okay.
A judge has said judicial officers should factor in the 9 months a woman carries a baby in her womb while presiding over disputes on distribution of matrimonial property. Justice Teresia Mafeka is of the view that courts should factor this as work. So you carrying the baby is a job that you're doing, okay? According to the judge, it is unfair to find housewives contributed less or nothing. She has pointed out that society today has been able to monetize carrying a baby through a surrogate, adding that taking care of children is today a full-time job. It is easy for the spouse working away from home and sending money to lay claim to the whole property purchased and developed with that money by the spouse staying at home and taking care of the children and the family. That spouse will be heard to say that the other one was not employed, so they are contributing nothing. That can no longer be a tenable argument, as it is a fact that staying at home parents, and in particular women, because of their cultural connotations, do much more work as housewives due to the nature of their job. Justice Madeka observed that although it is unfair to only rely on seen income, the mindset that one has to contribute money to marriage to find value is so entrenched in the society that housewives are the ones telling courts, "Sifanyi kazi," simply because they do not leave home to go and earn money elsewhere. She's continued by saying raising children is a full-time job that families pay a person to do.
Right.
Cooking and cleaning as well. Hence, for a woman in employment who has to balance childbearing and rearing, this contribution must be considered. She's of the view that when parties have parted ways and one is taking care of minors, he or she should get a sizable measure of the matrimonial property. The judge was determining a dispute between a couple codenamed MW and AN. After the marriage was dissolved in 2011, MW moved to court seeking to share a property in Nakuru and claimed that she had contributed significantly to this by staying
at home and taking care of the children
and the home.
Yep, you contributed to the well-being of this union. So, therefore, everything that
we shall share half-half.
What I find
I'm
strange,
telling you.
What I find strange,
I mean, it's going to bring drama.
I find this strange. The debate around this. When you listen to the arguments for the sharing of properties or the arguments that are now in our constitution with regards to inheritance, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Your siblings, same parents.
Yes.
It stands to reason you should share.
Entitlement.
Yes.
Clear.
Yes. But then comes in culture.
Yeah.
Then comes in tradition. And it's like the male children must inherit. Now, there's logic behind it. If you think about it, there's logic behind it, and it's understandable. But logic by its very nature and culture, if you are to put forth the argument that culture is dynamic, then surely, with the passage of time, shouldn't some of these norms be looked at?
Also be looked at.
So,
by those who are carrying the culture. You know, as you're saying that, I'm just thinking.
Yes.
So we recognize marriage in 3 ways in this country.
We do.
One, go to the AG's office.
Absolutely.
Or Jojo, get married. 2, go to church or any religious institution, get married, recognized. 3, traditional.
Native law and custom.
Yes. If your marriage is customary, shouldn't everything about it follow the customs?
The customs
in
which you marry.
Yes. If we say that we're going to recognize this because, you went through the traditional customary ways and you got married customarily, so everything about it should follow custom. If custom says, we divorce, man takes the children, divorce, man take children. Forget this whole story. Why are we mixing issues?
Actually, if you have to follow your argument is sound. But I think any discussions of culture or norms are also peppered with just some little element of convenience. If it's convenient, then it's cultural. If it's not, then it's something else. It's religious. If it's not, then it's something else. Yes.
Time for another break. It's 14 minutes to 7. Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. Evelyn says she's on board for Friday, Weekend Day, that the Lord has made. Shall rejoice and be glad in it. Yes. Jehia Murwa Jogona. Jehia, son of Jogona. Good morning. Listening in from Limuru. And then there's somebody who says, you guys have some very good conversations on your show. I love it. But 30 minutes to 10 a.m., you are off air. This has been happening from Monday. And that is very, very true. Yes. At about 10:30 a.m. every day this week, we have about 5 minutes. 9:40, yes.
22.
Yes. we go off air for a bit. But this is not because we are switched off by anyone. It's because of something called sun outage. It's a technical phenomenon. Our satellites and the sun, something to do with alignment, and it just goes off. It's a technical hitch, and then we come back after about 5 minutes. So bear with us. It'll be here with us for just a couple more days, and then the world will normalize.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
Okay,
This
12
is the
minutes. to
Situation
seven.
Room.
Kenya's biggest conversation continues. So page 8 of their Standard this morning. MPs on a spot for tabling reports with little impact. Lawmakers are writing reports that rarely provide evidence for subsequent prosecution, and many committees have recommended further investigations into the KEMSA saga. How many committees are we talking about? The Public Investments Committee of the National Assembly, the same committee in the Senate, the Health Committee in the Senate, blah, 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 blah. Now, you know this whole KEMSA probe that we were looking at and we were talking about yesterday? And the way it said, we recommend further investigation. We recommend establishment of a multi-stakeholder team to look deep into how much money was spent by KEMSA, blah, and those things. Do you know how much it has cost the taxpayers? So the Public Investments Committee has 19 members, including the chair and the vice chair. The chair is the man we hosted here, Mvita MP Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir, a couple of days ago, right? How many sittings did they have probing KEMSA? 55 sittings held over the KEMSA scandal. They also took some retreats. They went somewhere. They were, going out of town and back into town. Every time a parliamentary committee chairperson chairs a session, he receives a sitting allowance of 10,000 shillings per session, okay? The vice chairperson receives 8,000 shillings sitting allowance per session. Ordinary member receives 5,000 shillings per session. There were 55 sessions probing KEMSA alone. So if we just look at that, we could have paid these guys about 5.7 million shillings in sitting allowances over the KEMSA scandal since late last year, assuming that all members attended all sittings. We could have spent more than 10 million shillings for the cost of retreats, catering services, logistics and allowances to members of the committee's secretariat. Not the committee members, the secretariat. The amount of money that is allegedly irregularly spent by KEMSA to procure the COVID-19 equipment was 7.8 million shillings. Have you seen the cost of coming up with a report that says we recommend further investigation? Let's compare this with the other one that we've talked about here on this show, and that is the special committee that was formed in the Senate to investigate the procurement of the medical equipment scheme. They came up with a report, and that report said, this was a complete sham. It was actually, what do they call it? A criminal enterprise. MES is a criminal enterprise. That's what the committee said in the recommendations. They said, we recommend further investigations into whether the PS had anything to do with blah, blah. The amount of money that ad hoc committee chaired by Isiolo Senator Fatuma Dulo could have earned in sitting allowances while probing MES was 5.3 million shillings. That had 9 members in that committee, with at least 100 sittings between September 2019 and September 2020 when they handed in their report. We could have spent about 1 million shillings on just paying this chair in sitting allowances. 1 million to just pay Sitting allowances for the chairperson, Senator Fatma Dulo. 79,868, the amount per diem that members of the committee earned when they travelled to the Netherlands. The cost of the MES project was 63 billion shillings. The report they came up with was so bad that their fellow senators said, we are not even accepting this report. They voted it out. They rejected it. So even that recommendation for further investigation was not taken up by the House.
Even after all the money that was spent.
Yes. At some point, we should start probing these committees and surcharging them. Surely.
You know what I find strange, though, is how there's always an excuse and a reason as to why they haven't done their job. No one is asking them to prosecute. We know they can't prosecute.
Yeah.
No one is asking them to arrest. We know they can't arrest. But what they certainly can do is they can name names. Not complicated. Name names.
Yes.
Say, this entire saga. Yes, you've heard the mention of the CEO, the board of directors, the chairman of the board of directors. However, in the Ministry of Health, in the government, the business enterprises are these. The
members of Parliament.
The people behind the business enterprise are so and so, so and so, and so and so. So and so's name features very often in any of these issues regarding Ministry of Health. And his companies are this and this and this. What is so difficult about doing that?
Procedure. They'll tell you things.
Well, you know something? The procedure, they ought to stop wasting our time by telling us they're investigating anything.
Yeah. Just let ESCC do the job anyway.
Yes.
Because ESCC
Or
has
DCI.
been investigating
Yes.
this. So just, ESCC is investigating. Say, we will look at the ESCC investigations.
That's it. After all,
What are you
they are capable of doing it.
Yeah.
And that's their job. But this thing of hoodwinking us that you're actually doing something that is useful to us, this is not useful. You might as well leave us to our speculation so that we can just guess what has happened and discuss, create our own conspiracy theories. It's far more useful.
It is no wonder that the headline in the Standard says, MPs have turned probes into gravy train. How much money you earn per sitting. Just saying we're investigating. Someone this, someone the other, invite so-and-so, invite the other person, they come. No, we're not going to listen to you. You walk out. That's a sitting. Clock, money has come in.
You know,
come back tomorrow with your assistant director.
You know, Eric, the really truly sad thing is that this particular parliament represents a certain trend that unfortunately we are going to have difficulties turning the tide or the time on. This particular parliament has lost its way completely. There is a smattering of misdeeds and ill deeds that we have apportioned to other parliaments before. But the sum total of all those things that we have apportioned to other parliaments before seem to have been completely compressed and borne by this particular parliament. Anything that parliament can do wrong, you will find this particular parliament has
attempted it.
Yes, anything. Obfuscating reports, giving you nonsensical findings that you could do without. And then, when it comes to essentially playing the role that they are mandated to do by law, to oversight, they have the gumption and the gall to actually point to you and say, you are the ones who elected us. We are like you.
Yeah, we are like you.
Yes, and we are also limited in the things we can do.
In fact, the issue here is the voter. The voter should elect a right person. Have we heard that's what all MPs we have had here, who've come
That's
here?
what they're telling us.
us.
And they were elected.
The message that all MPs we question here is the voter should elect better leaders.
And they forget that they're the ones who...
So they're basically telling you we are not good leaders. You guys should actually go back and get folks better than ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
The mistake is referring to themselves as leaders. They actually aren't leaders. When you have people in positions of authority who are elected to actually play the role of leaders, and what they do is look after their own interests, can we justifiably actually refer to them as leaders? No. If then leading myself makes me a leader, then everybody in this country is a leader.
Higher. Final story before we go to the top of the hour.
Yes, just very quickly on the back page of The Nation here. Alert as Kenya awaits adverse ruling in Somalia border row. So Kenya's on high alert, is what is being described here, ahead of next month's judgment on the Indian Ocean boundary dispute with Somalia. The ruling, according to sources within government circles, is expected to be adverse. The International Court of Justice, the ICJ, will announce the decision on the 12th of October, ending a protracted case between the two neighbors that the war-torn Horn of Africa nation filed in 2014. Interesting adjectives there. Its verdict is final, by the way. The timing of the judgment, which coincides with the 10th anniversary of Kenya's troops storming Somalia to fight the Al-Shabaab terrorists, is being considered a slap in the face. Some of the court's verdicts have been in the past disregarded, including by the US, which in 2018 rejected the court's order that sanctions against Iran should not include humanitarian aid or civil aviation safety. And in 1986, the US had also attacked the court after it ruled America owed Nicaragua war reparations. We are proceeding on the assumption that the verdict will be adverse, according to a senior Kenyan official yesterday. The manner in which the court conducted itself when dealing with Kenya, including rejecting a string of merited applications, is a key pointer. He went on to say that a lot is being done, including security-wise. It's a matter with huge national security implications. A nation must guarantee the security and well-being of its people. And even in the unlikely event of a surprise decision in our favor, we expect a response from Somalia.
All right. So maybe it could be some very good coincidence that the president was at Manda Bay yesterday.
Opening the new
upgrading
base.
a forward operating base into a proper base of the Kenyan Navy. And he was there in full regalia, dressed as the commander-in-chief, not wearing a mask. Stuff like that. COVID what?
COVID is you.
COVID is what? So the Kenyan Navy base in Manda Bay, Lamu County, now will provide medical support to both KDF and multi-agency security teams deployed in the area. And the president was there accompanied by the Chief of Defense Forces, Robert Kibochi, of course the commander of the Kenyan Navy, and of course the commander of the Army and the Air Force as well were there, in addition to the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Defense. Let's hope this thing goes well, because I think by all accounts from every other report that we have seen in the past 2 years, Kenya bungled this case.
From the get-go.
From the very beginning. I hope the judge just feels wishy.
Leniency, we ask leniency.
Just feel wishy. And then, okay, you guys was playing this thing so badly anyway. Let me just give it to you. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. In the next hour, we talk about focus on injustice that's facing Kenya. Freedom Sunday is coming up. We'll be told what is Freedom Sunday. Which Sunday is it? This Sunday. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The government plans to start vaccinating children between the age of 16 to 18 against COVID-19 by next year. Chairman of the COVID-19 Task Force, Willis Ahwale, says the Pfizer vaccine has been approved for individuals within that age bracket.
It's important to note that Sinopharm will not be used in persons above 50 years, while all the others can be used in persons above 18 years. And it's also important to note that Pfizer, which was first registered in the US, allowed use above 16 years.
Acting Health Director Patrick Amoth also said that the government has focused on distributing the Johnson & Johnson vaccines to communities which are pastoralists.
We have also prioritized these communities because of the very nature of how they live, mostly as a pastoral community, moving from one place to the other. And remember, just a few weeks ago, the president declared drought a national disaster affecting most of those counties. We are prioritizing the single-shot Johnson & Johnson jab so that we can be able to reach them.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is recommending a temporary ban on the recruitment and export of domestic workers to Saudi Arabia as it emerges that 92 Kenyans have lost their lives in the Gulf country. The ministry wants the government to move with speed and take drastic measures until adequate measures are put in place to guarantee the safety of Kenyans. Foreign Affairs PAS Ambassador Kamau Macharia told the House Committee to push for the implementation of the recommendation to end what he termed dire situation for Kenya domestic workers in Saudi Arabia. Embakasi East MP Babu Owino has condoled with the family of DJ Evolve following the loss of his mother. Babu, on his Twitter account, remembered DJ Evolve's mother, Mary Hongo, as a mother and friend. The MP further asked the family to ask God to grant them peace, strength and comfort to go through this difficult moment in their lives. Felix Serinda, popularly known as DJ Evolve, was involved in a shooting incident with Babu at a local bar. Here's a neighbor who explained details of the last moments of Mary before she collapsed and died yesterday.
Duka yake iko karibu na yangu, kisha akaanguka, na vile alianguka kaniita kwa sauti, nikasikia, na vile nilisonga nikampata hapo chini. Sasa nilijaribu kumulift na alikuwa na sweat kabisa, so sikujua kabisa nini alikuwa anafanya, ananiambia tu anasikia kama apumui. In that process tukangangana tu, akaniambia Karo niombe, nikamuombea, akagain nguvu kidogo. Sasa aligain nguvu kidogo, nikamwambia wacha twende hospitali. Hapo akakubali, akasimama, akanionyesha kifuli mali iko, nikafunga mlango yake, tukatoka, akatembea tu polepole, baada alikuwa anachoka kabisa. Nikampeleka mpaka hospitali mahali karibu, but alikuwa analia sana tumbo, chini ya tumbo, na akaniambia ilianza the previous day. Anasema apumui, katapika, ile katapika kama ya tatu, akacollapse tu mara moja na macho zikakuwa white.
Religious leaders say that they are still holding consultations on how to reconcile President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto. Anglican Church Archbishop Jackson Olesathit father said that they hadn't given up on bringing about a compromise between the two leaders.
The division between the top leaders of this country will polarize Kenyans, and is already polarized. As a team of church leaders, we have been making those attempts. We cannot say we have come to an end of it. It is still a matter in our prayer closet, but also in an engagement which is still alive.
At the same time, Sir Pete reiterated that the Anglican Church wouldn't allow politicians to address believers in churches like others had agreed to do so. He also advised the government to listen to the cries of citizens who are strained by the hard economic times, including the hike in fuel prices.
We are standing with Kenyans who are crying because of high fuel prices that also translate into high cost of living. The government to cushion many Kenyans from hardship caused by high cost of living, such as tax reliefs.
Deputy President William Ruto is now demanding for an apology from his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, ODM leader Raila Odinga and their allies for forcing the Building Bridges initiative on Kenyans. The DP says the initiative push has cost the country the biggest gains of the Big Four agenda.
We demand an apology from them because they sabotaged the Big Four plan that was supposed to create jobs, millions of jobs for ordinary people, that was supposed to create a universal health coverage framework that would benefit millions of women and children and all people. They sabotaged the whole food investment strategy that would lift many farmers and create opportunities for them to access market.
And finally, police in the U.S. state of Tennessee say that one person has been killed in a mass shooting at a grocery store and 12 other people have been wounded. Police from neighboring districts have arrived at the grocery store to assist in the investigation. The shooter, who is male, died at the scene from a suspected self-inflicted gunshot wound. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, so what are we looking at a few past 7 o'clock this morning? Oh, okay, so things have changed quite quickly. There was no traffic about an hour ago, but now everything looks like it's jam-packed into the city centre, that's for sure. Coming off of Uhuru Highway, actually in the opposite direction, coming out of Westlands, that's quite packed. And then let's look at it from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, connecting with Aerodrome out towards Bunyala. That is already packed. And Langata Road is doing its thing this morning properly. On Jogo Road, getting out into the city via Landis at the Kamkunji roundabout, there traffic has already built up small. Actually, plenty. And coming off of Survey on the Thika Superhighway today, Kiambu Road is also jam-packed, getting and joining there. Limuru Road connecting from Muthaiga and then coming out towards the city. Yes, it's Friday. It's that thing. Let's take a look at what it looks like in a short while. But for now, it has picked up significantly in whatever area you are in. The bypasses continue to be your friends this morning. Use them. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch. Text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Kenya's biggest
The
conversation
only way to
continues
start your
7 minutes after 7. A very good morning to you wherever you're tuned in on this lovely Friday, 24th day of September 2021. We're going to have a conversation about justice. But before we do that, we are going to have a proverb from DJ CT.
One who has yet to learn to walk cannot climb a ladder.
One who has yet to learn to walk cannot climb a ladder.
Yes.
From?
This is an Ethiopian proverb.
Okay.
Yes. Now the msikizaji who had a request, Monday.
Monday will be a Luo proverb.
Yes.
Okay. Note it down. Some IOU. So, City, this Sunday, I can tell you what the verse in church is going to be.
Which church?
Every church, man.
Okay. Where
the churches that you go to, where they should be talking about the things that we are talking about.
Okay. Okay. Please go ahead.
No, John tells me just look up. Even just look up will have it. Okay. Luke chapter 4, verse 18 to 19. Shall I read?
Yes, sir. Please read.
Okay.
Shall I read?
The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor.
That's a nice verse.
Lovely, isn't it?
It's a very nice verse. The bit about setting the captives free. Yes. I particularly like that one.
Good. Now, that will be the theme for this Sunday, because this Sunday is Justice Sunday. What we're calling it actually Freedom Sunday. Now, what is Freedom Sunday? All those things are what we're going to about discuss. We are joined in the studio by Esther Njuguna. She's a senior coordinator for survivor services at the International Justice Mission. And by video link, Joseph Kariuki, lead communications and media at International Justice Mission. Good morning to you, Esther.
Good morning,
Welcome
Eric.
to Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room.
Asante.
We call this the hot seat, but because you're coming in peace.
I come in peace.
And the Spirit of the Lord is here with us. This is not going to be the hot seat. It's just going to be a warm seat for you.
All right, thank you.
However, Joseph, because you chose not to come,
and because he thinks that distance will make his seat less warm.
Hot. Joseph, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Muga and Du.
Good morning.
Good to have you joining us.
Thank you for hosting us this morning.
Let's start with you, Esther. Just tell us, what is International Justice Mission? And then Joseph will tell us about this Sunday.
Yeah. So International Justice Mission is a human rights organization. And we work in 24 different offices around the world, dealing with everyday violence, just around engaging or working with people living in poverty to ensure that we are rescuing victims of this everyday violence, that we are bringing perpetrators to accountability, that we are restoring survivors. So it's not enough for them to seek justice. We want to restore them to a place of strength. And then we also want to ensure that there's justice system transformation, where that everybody can actually access justice, and we can ensure that our systems are working, that everybody is treated fairly. That I'm sure if I want to seek redress, then I know I can get it. I know how to go about it. So, and we work in multidisciplinary teams. So we'll have social workers, lawyers, investigators working on cases, so that we're able to identify different gaps. And our vehicle is usually casework. So working on individual cases to identify these gaps in the criminal justice system. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's what we
You've
do.
said violence a number of times.
Yeah.
And various forms of violence. What kind of violence are we discussing?
So in Kenya, in different parts of the world, they focus on different things. But in Kenya, we focus on police abuse of power and child sexual violence. So those are the two areas that our work focuses on. Yeah.
In order for work to focus on it at this level, are we saying that there is quite a high, in terms of percentage, proliferation of these cases of violence in the country?
Yes, there is. You'd be surprised by how many cases, how many stories we get to hear, how many victims we get to work with who have suffered this kind of, this kind of violence.
Surprise us. Tell us, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis.
So, like if you'd go to, let's say, for example, when we'd go to court, would have a case of child sexual violence. I could be going to court every day. And I mean, we are not like a national, we're not like so many, we don't have so many cases like in our pipeline, but we'll be going to court every day on a case of child sexual violence.
A different case every day?
A different case. And then, people coming to us for referrals on cases of police abuse of power, seeking police accountability. They would be coming in and you would see the effect. Like one case would have, different victims around it. So the cases are many, the stories are heartbreaking, but that's why we're here.
I am particularly interested in getting to ask or getting to know, are there specific areas or specific places where you see a preponderance of these cases as opposed to others? And if so, what reason do you prefer? Or why do you think this is so?
Yeah. So in Nairobi and Kiambu counties, and specifically because of, the number of people who are living, below the poverty line. So, and just the policing around that, we haven't experienced proper policing in Africa or in our country as well. So because of that, just the number of people in these areas, then you realize the cases are very high, because poverty makes people vulnerable. Just lack of, strong economy or strength makes you vulnerable just because of the area that you live in. So that's why you see very many high cases in Nairobi and Kiambu, just because of its proximity to the city. Yeah.
Obviously, IJM is stepping in to these cases. Are we saying that there is not enough government institutional involvement in order for an organization to have to step in? And it's dealing with so many cases. So what does that paint in terms of a picture of government institutional involvement?
And that's why we are talking about justice system, strengthening, because we have good laws. We just need enforcement of those laws. We need to see people actually doing what they're supposed to do, duty bearers doing what they're supposed to do, instead of cases where you see duty bearers being the ones breaking the law. So when I began, I joined IJM 15 years ago. The platform has been different. And I might not be a lawyer or an investigator, but I've had a front seat just because of that multidisciplinary approach in our work. I've had a front seat to this area, so I'm able to see the landscape. So when we began, especially in cases of child sexual violence, many cases were coming to us and they were unreported, because they are sure that if they go to the police station, they were turned away. Then we have seen that changing just because of the lobbying, the organizations that are there. If you look like in Kenya or in Africa, in terms of policing, I mean, we have so many G4S security groups, because they are trying to meet a need, because you're not assured that the police will respond or there'll be a response when you need security. So that's why you're seeing a growth in that. So all these organizations coming in to try and fit, meet a gap. So, but we are here because, ultimately, the government has the responsibility to take care of its citizens and to enforce the law. So we work closely with them to ensure that we are strengthening or building that, continuing to build that capacity so that you, me, anybody else, receives, there's equity in the way the law is enforced.
I almost heard you say, that your background as a psychologist isn't quite as important as that of the lawyers and other players in this field.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
My thinking exactly, because, you see, we are talking about problems and our response to these problems. But how often do we get to ask what it is that brings about this problem, the genesis, the causes? Because that's the real problem. What we see are the symptoms, the outcomes of what the real problem is. Now, the question I'm asking is, how do you people get to understand the causes, the root causes of these problems? And when you do, and if you do, how do you go about trying to mitigate?
So we've talked about how poverty makes people vulnerable.
Yes.
And the root cause, even as we try, all of us, when you're philanthropic, people responded in taking people to school, being a sponsor, and things like that. But if you don't change the structures and the systems, you just meet one part of the need. So what we have identified is that if there's equity in terms of the way justice is distributed in a country, then you see, if there is law enforcement, then you see issues like corruption that makes the judiciary not have enough resources, because there's a huge backlog because of that. The government says they don't have money to give judiciary. Judiciary is saying, give us money so that we can be able to, administer justice. And we are seeing that being systematic. People are vulnerable sometimes because of the systems that are in their country. So for us, that is what we have identified as a root cause. So, and in meeting this, what we have done is that we work with our survivors, and because sometimes the cost of justice is very high. It's very easy to say that just go to court and report, but for our victims, we've realized even fare to come to court. I want to seek justice. I really do. But even the fare to come to court, I don't have. Look at our coastal office. You see, like the courtroom is 150 kilometers in Bamba, and a client needs to go there to actually seek justice. So issues of access. Yeah. And other than that, we've come to court. There's court delays. I can think of cases where, in fact, we just concluded a case that has been in court for the last 10 years. A child sexual violence case. What that means for that victim is that they'll never move on. They'll never move on. There will always be this cloud hanging over their head. Yeah. And so that is why, in terms of mental health support, we want to ensure that the cost of justice is not so high in terms of restoration of this survivor. So, things like that, for me, are important, because even as she goes to school, because, IJM might support her to go to school. Yeah. She's pursuing to get a career. She might have money of her own. But there's something here that will always hold her back, in terms of success. Yeah.
As you continue the conversation, let's contextualize it in terms of why we're having it today. This is Justice Month, and Sunday is going to be Freedom Sunday. So, Joseph, just take us through, what is the Justice Month? What is Freedom Sunday? What activities have you held so far, and what are you lining up?
Thank you, Eric. Freedom Sunday is a global event that was started by IJM, I think in 2018, in partnership with churches all over the world, so that the aim of teaching congregants about injustice and the role that Christians can play in fighting it. So, as my colleague Esther has already said, the problem that people who are poor have, it's not that they don't have laws. The problem is that there is poor law enforcement, and most people who are poor live outside the protection of the law. And so, why we want to have Freedom Sunday and speak the issue of justice is because we want the congregants to be able to know what is injustice that is facing their community, what can they do about this injustice, how can they bring criminals to justice, for example, the way that we want criminals to be brought to justice, how can we restore survivors, the way my colleague Esther has mentioned, and also we want people to participate in strengthening our public justice system so that people can be able to safely go through the public justice system. Cases can be resolved very fast so that they don't have delays longer. Because you have to appreciate it, Eric, that most of even our political leaders, you can see they troop to churches on Sundays to listen to the Word of God. And we want our leaders in these churches to go through it, speak about injustices in these churches, read statements about injustice, urge them to participate in this. So throughout the month of September, we've been having Justice Month just to speak about issues of health justice. What does health justice mean? What does it mean to access healthcare? Right now, we are going through a pandemic. How has this pandemic affected Kenyans? There's so many Kenyans who have lost their jobs, for example. There's so many Kenyans who are going without food. And what can churches do? What can churches speak to government about? You remember that I think in 2020, the government announced that we are going to give, I don't remember, it was 8 billion to the vulnerable so that people who are vulnerable can receive these funds. But with us working in the community, so many people never received this money. So where does this money go? So these are the things that we are talking about during this Justice Month. And also the other issues like the issues of family strife that we continue to see. We've seen a lot of gender violence. We've seen a lot of child sexual violence going on, children sexually abused. So we want to speak about these issues in the church from the pulpit so that people can be able to speak and be informed about them. And then there's the issue of police abuse of power that we work in, and this is a topic that we definitely want to highlight because I know all of us sometimes come through police abuse of power or we interact with the law in this aspect. So when you look at statistics, especially during this pandemic time, especially I'll quote Missing Voices, which tracks cases of police killings and enforced disappearances in the country. Last year alone, Missing Voices was able to track 157 cases of police killings and 10 enforced disappearances in the country. And you can see, I think this week you saw, and last week, cases of many bodies that were being retrieved from River Tana. These are people who had disappeared. Their families, I don't know if you watched how many people were trooping to Garissa mortuary just to go and try to identify people who have disappeared for many years. Some disappeared in 2014. They have never been found. You can imagine the agony and the pain that such families are going through. So in a nutshell, we want these discussions to come into the forefront, that Kenyans can discuss it on social media and also on radio like this, so that we can have a way forward on this kind of violence.
Joseph, I assume that IJM has been doing this for a number of years now. What is the impact that you've seen from having several Freedom Sundays? What impact have you seen?
Indeed, we've seen a lot of impact in churches. At the first time we did Freedom Sunday in 2018, we had just a score of churches. I think there were around 67 churches that joined the Freedom Sunday. But this year alone, in Kenya, we have like 800 churches that have signed up to do Freedom Sunday. We've had survivors of violence that are being invited to these churches to go and speak so that you can hear. Sometimes you cannot believe when I tell you about a case, but if you hear a case from a survivor, then you can be able to know the real pain of these cases and violence. Also, we've seen some churches that have come up to take up survivors to educate them, because as an organization, we cannot be able to cater for all these people. But we've seen survivors who have been taken up through schools. Churches have taken up that burden. We've seen churches that have started to speak about violence. We've seen Bishop Olesapit of the ACK Church, who even on Sunday read a statement about Freedom Sunday. He's talked about the issue of justice and what we are called to do. And other leaders, even in formal settlements where this violence festers a lot, we've seen so many churches come in. And so I think we are happy that the church is taking this call for justice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, call it human nature, Joseph, Esther, call it human nature. But, even as we are saying that, there's got to be a rallying around for the people of the country to understand some of these. Perhaps we cannot understand them until we really hear the nitty-gritty of some of these cases and what people are actually going through. I mean, I'm more likely to resonate. People are more likely to resonate when you hear or experience the horror that somebody else might have gone through, for you to say, hold on a minute, is this actually what is happening? So, Esther, tell us some of the things that you actually run into for people to understand the gravity of some of the things that we are talking about right now.
There's a question you've asked in terms of, impact. There was, in law, there was something known as bond to keep peace. And what bond to keep peace meant is that a police officer looks at you and they think, you look like somebody who's about to commit a crime. Okay. So they take you to court and they say, we've brought you here to promise to be bonded to keep peace. And so if the magistrate asks you, are you going to keep peace? What would you say?
Yes.
Then you're told this amount of money, you have to pay this amount of money to bond you for a year to keep peace. Of course, you don't have that amount of money. So you go sit in jail and wait as you keep peace. You've done nothing wrong. So, and what IJM did, so when we engage, and that's what we're talking about, our casework. So when we would go to prison to visit and would realize and would wonder, what are these guys doing who are unattended? They're just here basking in the sun. And the wardens would tell us that, they're keeping peace. And so, in prison. Yeah. So what happened is that our lawyers went to court and, and had to have that removed because, I mean, it's just really unfair. And when you look at cases like that, or like guards, I remember one case where a guard was in town, is at night, and he sees a commotion. He's guarding a building and he sees a commotion happening somewhere. And so it was a police officer who was fighting, there was a barrel, and he lost his gun. And so this guard who had just gone to see, curiosity killed the cat, who had just gone to see, was arrested and charged. And so by the time we got to meet him, he hadn't done anything wrong, yeah? But he had been sitting in prison for 1 year. He couldn't afford bail, and he had just been seated there. And he was, we found an old, angry man because he hadn't done anything. All he did was to witness. And then so they found somebody to just accuse for that crime. So, and it's things like that. And I mean, I've met so many clients like those who have.
Let's take a break.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. It's 7:30. That's an interesting story, and I think you have very many more, and that's what we want to hear. And so we also are able then to interrogate and see what does that mean. What, is it about the law? Is it about the community? Is it about the duty bearers, the justice system as a whole, where the weaknesses are? This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, 7:30. In the room with us is Esther Njuguna. She's the Senior Coordinator in charge of Survivor Services at the International Justice Mission. And joining us via video link is Joseph Kariuki. He's a lead in communications and media at IJM as well. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot
that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Still looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 13 today. In Nakuru, mostly sunny conditions at 25, at highs of 25 and lows of 13. 22 will be the high. In a wet Nyeri this morning at 14, highs of 22. Eldoret, sunny conditions at 11. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 23. And in Kisumu this morning, 19 degrees, raining, highs of 27 and the lows of 19. The sun is out in Kakamega, highs of 22 and lows of 16 today. Mombasa today, we're looking at sunny conditions at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 23. And in Malindi, 27 degrees, partly sunny conditions with highs of 29 and lows of 25. Kampala is cloudy at 21, highs of 27 and lows of 18. And Dar es Salaam, light rain at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 23. Lagos, rain showers at 25. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 30. Joburg, 16 degrees and cloud and sunny. Highs of 28 and lows of 13. And in Kinshasa, clear conditions at 21. And that'll be the low, going to highs of 31.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
In the middle of the city centre is where all the action is this morning, coming in from all parts of Nairobi today, whether you're coming from Gong Road, where there's some traffic getting around to the City Mortuary roundabout. Bagathi Way is free as you come from the T-Mall roundabout, but then you're going to feed into this traffic at the roundabout. Community area going into the city, that looks all right for now, but it's moving along slowly and likely to pile up as we go ahead. Speaking of the T-Mall roundabout, you're getting that traffic that's going down Langata Road, joining with Aerodrome Road, and then onto the Banyala Road roundabout, headed into the city. All roads lead to the city as it does, coming off Jogger Road as well. And that's piled up considerably since the last time we spoke, getting towards Landis Road and out towards the Kamkunji roundabout. The Thika Superhighway, one for the books this morning, quite hot and heavy, especially around Survey. Kiambu Road, jam-packed. I'm not sure how many lanes we're looking at now, but it's joining with the square at Muthui, and then spilling over into the city. It is traffic hour. And it's going to be this way for some time, at least an hour. Let's keep an eye on things, guys. Stuck anywhere? I'll give you a tip for free. Use the bypasses. They're go-to for any day. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
Esther Njuguna, she's from the International Justice Mission, and joining us via video is Joseph Kariuki, also from International Justice Mission. Freedom Sunday is coming up this Sunday. We'll be focusing on injustice in the country. And Esther, you're giving us this interesting look at the work that IJM has done so far. Bond to keep peace. Arrested, loitering with intent.
But what I'm asking
taken to
is,
court.
For such a law to exist, was this a colonial law?
Yep. Yeah, it's those ones.
Because
loitering with intent.
Yes, because I'm thinking syndromically, you just look at somebody and you look like a criminal. And so because you look like a criminal, I am going to prevent you from committing a crime. Or I'm going to bond you so that you don't commit a crime. Are there any cases of situations where, or you've heard of, where people have been brought forward in that way, and indeed there were people...
They are known criminals.
Yes.
But how would you know that without evidence? You see,
well, if you're a police officer, let's just look at it objectively.
Yeah.
You're a police officer, you work in a community.
Yeah.
You know the two small petty criminals of that community.
Because they also tend
and
to be
the big
informers.
criminals of the community.
Yeah.
You come across this guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3 a.m. He is alone, going somewhere. He has not committed a crime, but you know his history. What do you do as a police officer?
No, that's
Escort
not
him
fair.
home.
I mean, you don't know. You are.
Why is he here, part 3?
You don't know, and that's why we want to insist on proper investigations.
Right.
Investigate, say that I have evidence, and that's why we're excited about the decision to charge. Let ODPP decide that there is enough evidence to actually take you to court, so that we prevent people who haven't actually, committed a crime, and we actually force people to actually do their work, so that you're actually taking me to court, and there's evidence to test that whether I've committed this crime or not. So that we are not vulnerable. Otherwise, we'll be very vulnerable. What if it's on a day? And that's why theories like Lombroso theory, where I'd look at you and say, you have features, your physical features that your mother gave you look like that of a criminal, And it's obsolete now because of such things, because we want to base evidence on facts. So it's things like that. So, and, when people are vulnerable,
Right.
people living in poverty, there are just so many things. People feel like they can walk all over you. And that's what we're saying. Even for clients that aren't supported by IJM, we want it to be equitable for everyone. That if a child goes to court, they know they're going to receive trauma-informed care in the criminal justice system. That, magistrates, prosecutors, police officers are thinking about the trauma that this survivor has gone through in actually making decisions around their case.
What you say is true, because their histories, or especially in countries where people were known to just disappear. Argentina and Chile led in this in the 1970s, 60s, 70s, up to 80s. And they even referred that the term "the disappeared" came from. However, again, if we were to look at this thing in a balanced way, there are extremely many cases where police have unjustly used or unfairly used the powers that have been accorded them. But I have to ask the question, is there reason why they do so? And I'm going to explain why I'm asking this question. If on a daily basis, this is what you do, you try to keep security, God alone knows the sort of people you come across and who you actually know. Now, cases have been brought with regards to extrajudicial killing. Now, I have had occasion to actually speak to law enforcers, and this is what someone told me a while back. He told me, cases such as the ones you hear about where people are killed unfairly exist. He says, but sometimes we are frustrated because you know this is a criminal. You even know what they have done.
You've taken them to court before. Even.
Yes, you know. It's not that you don't know. But something is bungled, the guy is set free. Now he says the problem with this guy being set free is now your life is in danger.
I mean, obviously you have intimate knowledge with a lot of these cases. Are we seeing that is the case? Are we looking at individuals who have not previously had a run-in with security agencies and just, going along their merry way, innocent in their ongoings? Or are we looking at people who may have a spotty history?
Actually, people who are very innocent. And you see, and I hear what you're saying. And the risk is, what about that person who, yes, that's why there has to be proper policing. Because what about that person who's innocent going by their way? There's a child, a young boy in this slum just on Mombasa Road. I forget Mukuru.
Right. One of the Mukurus.
One of the Mukurus. So they used to have this church practice in the afternoon, and so he was a son to one of our clients, and so these boys. So he's gone in the afternoon for church practice, Saturday afternoon, and then unawares to him, there's this group of boys who have been reported to have been they had done something. Young boys as well had done something. So they all meet up in church. And then when the police come, there's an execution. And he dies in the process.
Whoa.
Young man, he had not had any issues with the police. He's not done anything, and that's where it finds him. And so when I think about such families and the devastation that comes with that, and while I hear about the balance, I mean, what we'll just call for is proper policing so that we are limiting the number of mistakes. And
it's procedure.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Yes.
So that I'm thinking, like, I hear Kenyans saying that, today my car was stolen, don't report yet, because they might shoot me inside the vehicle.
Yeah.
You don't want to live with that. You don't want to live with that fear. So, and while I hear that, I mean, we are working, most of my colleagues are former police officers, so we get to hear also that side of the story and try to balance even as we advocate for change.
Right.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're actually also doing with the police, we are working and understanding the kind of trauma that comes with their work. And so just supporting them and supporting like-minded organizations who are working on issues of trauma healing with the police. So it's not like it's a fight, with the police. We just want to advocate, for just proper policing and law enforcement.
Yeah, Joseph, you talked about communicating with the general public. What about communication to these institutions that clearly there is a major issue that's being taken up with here? If we're talking about arbitrary arrests, being made, asking for, explanation on something that you're innocent about. So what about communication to these institutions that are duty bearers? What is that communication supposed to look like, even during this Justice Month, Freedom Sunday, and thereafter?
Yeah, I think just to mention, I'll take you probably back before I answer that about the issue that Eric and City had asked about, are there people who are innocent? And I know the challenge that we have in Kenya is that we have good laws, but the problem is that the justice system is a long process. You start with the investigation, so you have to investigate a case thoroughly, take it to court, and when you take it to court and you have evidence, then the prosecutor can prosecute this case.
Oh, we have an issue there getting Joseph on the line. Let's just see if we can get him back. So in terms of even that, I mean, something you can answer, Esther, in terms of communicating with these institutions, with the entire justice system, the players in the justice sector.
Yeah, those are conversations that we are constantly having. There, and interesting enough, people, I want to be able to do my job and do it well. Right. So there are conversations that we are constantly having, identifying the gaps and realizing who can we lobby, what needs to change so that I can actually be able to do my work. And so even as we talk about issues like decision to charge, where we want prosecutors to look at these files, we also must resource them so that we have enough to actually do this. So in just there are just so many. There's not one way of killing a rat. Skinning this. There just has to be different interventions in how we actually approach this. And so coming to Freedom Sunday, that's why we want to have these conversations
with the community
where people are sensitized about what is happening. Because in all honesty, before I worked in IJM, some of these things were they'll just pass you by. You're just ignorant about it. And so when people who can actually make a difference are ignorant about it, these are not things, they don't affect you. So you're not going to talk about them, you're not going to fight over them, you're not going to hold people accountable.
Joseph is back on the line. And Joseph, as you come back, we're still talking about the communication. When you communicate with the communities themselves, for example, one of the things that you deal with is child sexual violence. This means that the community needs a lot of sensitization on these issues. How do you go about that?
Yeah, so what we do, we engage with communities. For example, last week we were in Mombasa for a CUC meeting, is a court users meeting, where the community come, the justice sector's actor come. We had a judge from Kilifi, the head judge, we had prosecutors, we had police officers, 5 OCSs who had attended at the community. And in this case, they will just come and listen to the community. We encourage the community on how they can report these cases. the processes, because some of this violence that happens sometimes, especially sexual violence, children, sometimes has been done by a close family member. And because they happen mostly in poor communities, and the father is probably the breadwinner, people do not want to come and report them, because how do I report a husband?
Yeah.
And then in the long run, I don't have support even to go through court. I don't have support to take care of the same children. So we want to encourage them. We speak to them. So we have community dialogue in communities. We go to all these communities, talk about where you can report these cases, the processes of if a sexual offense has happened, what is the process that children can go through. So we continue engaging with this community because it's serious. Like I'm talking about Kilifi, 66% of the cases that come from Kilifi, the entire Kilifi court, are on sexual violence against children. That's a very big number. And in that community alone, they have like 10 cases on a daily basis.
If I can jump in there, Joseph, it just seems as though there are also very many competing issues here. Because, I mean, one thing that Esther has talked about is clear that the poverty issue comes into play front and center. However, here you are dealing with one of the major issues being child sexual violence, which are in many cases, as you've said, and we know, that is perpetrated by close family members in a majority of the cases. So here you have a family that's riddled by poverty, a child in the same family having been attacked sexually, abused sexually by a close family member. What do? Do you seek justice, or do you seek the often offered compensatory award from said family member and the let's talk about it by security forces, or do you say no, I'm going to go with IJM, and try to seek justice for this? Or at that point, that competing issue of food on the table, and here is a family member offering it to you, what do you do?
Yeah, and I think this is a big challenge for such a family, because you have to weigh about you going hungry or reporting this person and the person is incarcerated. And I think the biggest challenge, and one of injustice that we really need to talk about is the injustice that is being perpetrated by the government, and this is poverty. Because the root cause of all these things, I mean, I can assure you, I think 90% of these cases will happen in poor communities of sexual violence. They'll happen in poor community. Why? Because these people are poor. They're living in one-room house. The dad is a watchman who works at night. The mom washes clothes during the day. So you can imagine, during the day, this person is in the house with a girl that is just in her teens. So the opportunity is definitely there. And where does this go? It's because of poverty that is there, that people sometimes don't have jobs. They have been left at home. So the opportunity just to come and it's sad that even they are lured by even 50 shillings, 10 shillings as sweets. And you can see the level of poverty that are in this community, that are sweets of 2 bob or 3 bob can lure a child into a sexual violence trap. So, but what we encourage the clients that have come forward, those who have been courageous enough to come forward and report these cases, what, as Esther had said, we help them go through the justice system, because when you go through the justice system and these cases are covered, that someone has been jailed for 20 years, for example, someone has been jailed for life. If people see news of people being held to account for such crime, then there's deterrence, because people will start knowing that if I commit this crime, then there is some consequences into it. But if you don't report, if we don't go to court, for example, people might just think that if this thing can happen, we can do it, and I can go scot-free. So that's why we're encouraging that court should work. We should unclutter court that serious cases like this, because believe you me, courts are full of petty offenses, petty cases, loitering, drunk and disorderly, someone. So you find so many, nearly 50-60% of cases are petty offenses that can be dealt with in a swift manner. But because of our corrupt system, for example, you have a traffic offense. So if you're stopped and you're told you're speeding, for example, you are not sure that the police officer is telling the truth, that you are speeding. So, so the police will either ask you for a bribe. If you refuse to give that bribe, you argue with him, he will take you to court. When you reach to court, and this I'm talking from a personal experience, you reach to court and you've been charged with speeding. The first day you're charged, they give you a charge sheet. There is no evidence of that you are speeding. They have not put the speed gun camera. So you don't know how to plead. So you don't know whether to plead, I am guilty, so that you can do away with the case immediately, or you plead not guilty and you don't have the evidence. So we want evidence to be there in the file by the time you are charged, so that if you've showed me speed gun, you say that I was speeding and I've seen the speed gun evidence, then I will plead guilty and I'm given instant fine, and there's no need to go to court. Yeah. But every day you go to Milimani law courts, you go to Makadara, you go to Kibera, there are hundreds of people who
Traffic
probably
offenses.
refuse to pay a bribe.
Sure.
Yeah, and they've come with a traffic offense and they are filling the court system. And this deny us the opportunity to deal with very serious cases like corruption.
Yeah.
Corruption cases are taking, NYS, for example, this is, I think, 8 years down the line. It is not resolved. Look at murder cases that are happening, murder cases that happened in 5 years ago. I remember a case we were dealing with of extrajudicial killing of a man who had been killed in a police cell by an OCS in Ruaraka. The case took 6 years. 6 years for this person to wait for justice. That is taking longer. Look at sexual cases that my colleague Esther was talking about that had taken 10 years in the justice system. And last we met the Chief Justice last week on Friday, and we raised these issues, and she said these are cases that are troubling her, that cases should not take longer than 3 years in the court system. Because remember, if a case like of murder has happened, in 5 years' time, the witnesses have forgotten, and they can't clearly remember what happened in that time, and so you can see justice is defeated in that issue. So systemically, I think we really need to look at these petty offenses, so that we can be able to look for diversion, how these cases can be diverted. I mean, if I'm drunk and disorderly, for example, do I have to go to court? Aren't there any other way that we can deal with
other ways of dealing with it? City, you've been pensive for a while.
You know, because this isn't a simple matter. You see, there's an increased awareness that people have. So in some of these communities, what you're considering sexual offenses were not considered sexual offenses. So people didn't report them. They are now aware they're reporting them. But then when you follow the justice system and you mete out what is actually mandated by law, it then becomes another problem. The discussion of, but we could have agreed, we could have understood each other, we could have dealt with this culturally. And then there is, now this is what I always bring up, are our police forces adequately equipped to deal with these many problems that they encounter? Because these are problems and they're real problems. But why is it that we keep finding that extrajudicial killings are constantly featuring? Why must they constantly feature? What is the reason behind it? Why is it that you have repeat offenders, people who commit crimes and they're constantly committing crimes? Why do you have people in jail who are innocent? The US, which is supposed to have a very robust justice system, it is reported they have something like 2.3 people incarcerated in their jails. It's argued that they million. Okay. It is argued that something like, say, tens of thousands of people are innocent. And yet in the last 30 years, only 3,000 people have been released from that system because they have been found to have been jailed wrongly. Now, a system such as that one, and I'm thinking of ours, and I'm looking at the problems from all sides, and I'm thinking, how on earth do you get to solve this particular problem? Because you talk to the police, they have their side of the story.
Yeah.
You talk to the person on whom the crime is meted, they have their side of the story. The criminal will tell you, I wouldn't be committing a crime if this and this and this happened. So it's a vicious cycle, and that's what I was saying. It's a vicious cycle which at some level doesn't seem to end. And you know why it doesn't seem to end? The highest officers in the land where they're supposed to set an example of probity and following the law, that's where people don't follow the law at all. Forget not following, they break the law.
They don't know example.
No, they are the worst possible examples you could actually think of.
There's something you've mentioned there, City. I mean, in terms of communities and their perception of a crime.
Yes.
For example, why would we have, Joseph, you're telling us 66% of cases in the Kilifi courts being on child sexual violence? Is it because really that this community is so violent against its children, or is it the understanding of the community versus the law and the law enforcers and understanding of the law? What is it? I mean, you can tell us, Esther. You've dealt with some of these victims and all.
Yeah, and it's true what City is saying. Cultural norms play a major role. I worked on a case in Mombasa, and I remember trying to convince the young girls to actually just come forward. And I remember talking to the teacher there and saying, here, once you're 11 and you look like, puberty, you're considered a woman. And so this girl was saying she was 11, and the mom said, as you leave today, you've seen so-and-so, our neighbor, you need to come with a packet of unga. You're of age now. So when you tell an 11-year-old girl that in the evening she needs to come with a packet of unga, where is she supposed to get that? So that just makes her very vulnerable. So there's also a conversation about behavior change. Because, we cannot say that because this was our culture, and now, it's obsolete, doesn't work anymore, we continue doing those things that are retrogressive. So that conversation has to be, and that's why we want everybody on the table. And that's why court users committees have been very effective. We are all saying that this is a system that we are all using. This is my experience, the way City is saying, this is my experience, I hear your experience, and we're trying to make things work.
Find each other halfway.
Yeah, find each other halfway. But also, issues of psychological effects of this violence. It just affects people. I want to seek justice. Like, I had a client who was arrested like that.
Our time is coming to an end. It's just when the conversation is getting interesting. Esther, thank you very much for joining us. Esther Njuguna is from the International Justice Mission. Joseph Kariuki as well. So you'll have a happy Sunday, and we'll be in church this Sunday for Freedom Sunday to hear the more of these conversations, and we hope to have more conversations on this. We've got very many experiences. Just come even after this month, so we can continue getting the experiences from what you're hearing on the ground. Joseph, thank you very much for joining us. Next time, be here.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, CT, and thank you, Ndu. Have a good one.
Thank you, Joseph.
Too. Esther, thank you. Have a lovely day. Keep it here for more conversations. A very good morning to you. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Renal dialysis, major surgeries and diagnostics tests such as MRI and CT scan top the list of benefits that NHIF aims to cut in a drive to reduce payouts. The government's insurer's cost-cutting drive will reduce payouts to hospitals by at least 2.9 billion shillings in the year to June 2022, forcing thousands of beneficiaries to top up for their medical bills. The maximum cover for MRI scan will be reduced to 9,600 from the current 15,000 per session, while settlement of CT scans is set to be capped at 6,000 from 8,000. The average payout for renal dialysis will fall to 6,000 from the current 9,500 if the proposals are approved. NHIF CEO Peter Kamunyo said this is because a significant number of patients with chronic illness were joining the fund after falling ill, adding that they were already facing mounting claims from hospitals. 89 Kenyans, majority of them being domestic workers, have died in the past 2 years in Saudi Arabia, where authorities reported the cause of death as cardiac arrest. A report submitted to the National Assembly by Foreign Affairs PS Kamau Macharia adds a new dimension to cases of abuse of Kenyans working in Saudi Arabia that have in the past prompted the government to ban its citizens from seeking employment in the country.
So it's not possible that you have 3 deaths in Qatar, 1 in UAE, 2 in Kuwait, none in Oman, 2 in Bahrain, and you have 40, 50 the other country. Because the numbers may be larger, it's true, but they're not that much larger. Number 2, it is not possible that these young people are all dying of cardiac arrest.
Macharia is recommending a temporary ban on the recruitment and export of domestic workers to the country, further urging the government to move with speed and take action until adequate measures are put in place to guarantee the safety of Kenyans.
System of identification, training, organization for deployment, allocation to duties once they arrive there. That entire system is dysfunctional. We were under the impression that the Ministry of Labor with the National Employment Agency, it's there, it exists, would do this job because that is what they are mandated to do. They have not, for reasons known better, and I'm sure they'll be here to explain themselves better than I can possibly do.
6 police officers linked to the murder of the Tuki and Jokoma brothers will have to wait until next week Friday for the court to make a ruling on their bail application. The officers, through their lawyers Dunstan Omari and Cliff Umbete, say the officers have no valid reason for the court to deny them bail. They further say that their arrest was due to public outcry, as there is no actual evidence that links them to the death of the 2 brothers.
They cannot access police weapons, not even their uniforms.
What material have they placed before you, my lord, today to show that there was interference, actual or perceived?
Locals who volunteered to help retrieve bodies in the Lake Victoria tragedy are now demanding for payment. The locals say chiefs and other leaders in the area have pocketed the money that was meant for their payment for working together with the divers. All the people who died and survived the sinking of the boat have been accounted for after 10 bodies were retrieved in the exercise. A total of 19 people were on the boat when it sank on Tuesday.
They are not going back to the lake again. Yes. Their families there at home are hungry. They need something to put on their stomach. For them to be very happy when looking for the remaining bodies in the lake.
Embakasi's MP Babu Owino has condoled with the family of DJ Evolve following the loss of his mother. Babu on his Twitter account remembered DJ Evolve's mother Mary Hongo as a mother and friend. The MP father asked the family to ask God to grant them peace, strength and comfort to go through this difficult moment in their lives. Felix Orinda, popularly known as DJ Evolve, was involved in a shooting incident with Babu at a local bar. Here's a neighbor who explained details of the last moments of Mary before she collapsed and died yesterday.
Duka yake iko karibu na yangu, kisha akaanguka. Na vile alianguka kaniita kwa sauti, nikasikia na vile nilisonga nikampata hapo chini. Sasa nilijaribu kumulift, sasa aligeni nguvu kidogo, nikamwambia wacha tuende hospitali. Katembea tu polepole, baada alikuwa anachoka kabisa, but alikuwa analia sana chini ya tumbo, na akaniambia ilianza the previous day. Anasema apumui, katapika akacollapse tu mara moja.
And finally, in business news, 30 animal feed manufacturers have closed down in a span of 2 months as a shortage of raw material and a sharp decline in demand from farmers pushes them out of the business. Association of Kenya Feed Manufacturers Publicity Chair John Gadongo says manufacturers are grappling with a tight supply of important ingredients such as soya and sunflower cake, whose price have more than doubled after Zambia, which is Kenya's key source market, placed a ban on exports. The shortage of these ingredients has seen the price of feeds, especially poultry, shot up by weekly basis, with a 50-kilogram bag of Unga Limited Layers Mash now retailing at 2,850 from 2,750 last week. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's Friday indeed, and there's a lot of inbound traffic on Mombasa Road today. We're looking at an entire stretch coming in from Sabaki today through to the SGR. The ICD route, however, is going to offer you a good option to get into the city a lot quicker. You can then go all the way through to the Southern Bypass, so then you can come and connect on Mombasa Road at General Motors. So that whole Mombasa Road thing today is quite tight. Into the CBD as well, we're looking at that, has built up quite some. Coming out of Westlands, coming off Ngong Road and Mombasa Road as well. coming off of Haile Selassie. We're looking at Jogo Road continuing in that crazy traffic of this morning. The thicker superhighway, it's gotten a little bit better, but actually no. All the way from Survey, connecting then with Muthaiga Square, we're looking at a lot of traffic then joining us coming into Pangani and out towards the city from Muthaiga. Limuru Road is also building up today, and so that's what we're looking at. A lot of traffic, smack dab in the middle of traffic hour. We'll get out of it without too much of a scratch, I do hope. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter, just in case, or we'll text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
Good morning.
The only way to start
September 2021. Happy Friday, wherever you're tuned in this morning. Whether you're tuned in on SpiceFM 94.4 Nairobi, Mombasa 87.9, Kisumu 102.5, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 in Eldoret, Nyeri 90.9 or Malindi 97.7, or whether you're tuned in on KTN Home, who are watching us now for the next 1 hour, or if you are live streaming the show online. We have very many people live streaming the show. Yeah, from Zambia, from South Africa, from Australia this morning, from New Zealand, from across the globe, even from across the country. I think Yegon, if Yegon is somewhere in Wajir or in, where does it go?
Matu.
Moyale, Matu. He live streams this show. Very good morning. C.T. Muga has the day's proverb.
Indeed, I do.
Those who are live streaming from Ethiopia, this is from Ethiopia.
One who has yet to learn to walk cannot climb a ladder.
One who has yet to learn to walk cannot climb a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. Our guest for this hour is Musa Huko. He's a business manager at Dstv. Musa, good morning.
Good morning to you, Eric.
Welcome to the Situation Room. Good to have you.
Thank you.
So, listening to that proverb, does it make sense? You ought to climb a ladder, at least know how to walk.
Yeah, a journey of 1,000 steps begins with one. So it makes sense.
This man knows this thing. Huh? This man understands proverbs.
My friend.
It's not like me.
See, you've introduced him and said the way he works. Is there anything you cannot find in Dstv?
Wow.
Hey.
and his business manager.
Bas. Bas. It's knowledge.
Yes.
So, Dstv business is something that is, okay, there are not many people know Dstv business.
Yeah.
And so you have to introduce this to us. We know Dstv.
We know
and then
TV.
there's multi-choice and Dstv. Now there's Dstv business. What's that?
So basically we have Dstv, we have residential and we have the commercial side.
Right.
So residential is your home use, what you have at home. And then business is about the commercial needs of offices, hotels, pubs and clubs.
Why do they need to be different?
So they need to be different because one, they cater to different types of clientele, totally different. So one is for home use, the other one is for business use. So there are two different types of clientele.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask the question. If you're talking about business interests, let's take, for instance, a pub.
Yes.
Cultural establishment.
A cultural, thank you so much. A cultural establishment, okay, of the night variety. How would that differ? People go to a pub, there is that service offered by this organization. I'm at home, there's this service. Does it mean that what I'm able to access if I'm in that establishment is different from what I would access at home? Do you segment it differently, or is it just the same thing but it's packaged differently?
Yeah, you go to the pub, Arsenal will win.
Yes, so as multi-choice, as Dstv, yeah, we pride ourselves in being able to meet our customers at their points of aspirations, yeah? So the bar owner has his own aspirations.
Right.
When he opens up his bar today, he wants clientele to come and stay longer. He wants them to keep coming back. And that's why we are saying that we are able to give you superior world-class entertainment to keep your clients coming back for more, and also to keep your clients at the bar longer for them to spend, of course, to make you meet your profits or to make you meet your business needs.
How do you do that?
We give you unparalleled world-class entertainment in terms of La Liga, in terms of the English Premier League. And maybe just to answer it differently, we've recently had a significant milestone as DSTV business where we've been able to reposition ourselves to better meet entertainment needs of our business customers. Yeah. So our revamped packages are designed to connect customers to growth, to better cash flows, specifically through giving them more affordable packages and giving them more room in terms of flexibility to either downgrade or upgrade the DSTV packages.
You know, I'm still not getting it, Musa.
Yes.
I'm a pub owner.
Yeah.
I have a home, obviously.
Yes.
I have DSTV at home, and then I want to install DSTV at my pub.
Yeah.
Are they going to be different?
They're going to be different in terms of the packages, yes.
Okay.
The home packages are different from the commercial packages.
So what's the difference?
The commercial packages are classified into three. So if you have a pub, we have a different package from the hotel package. We also have a different package to the office package, which is entirely different from the package we have at home. Yeah. So one, we realize that you're using our content to drive business at your premises. And that's why we're telling you that we are giving you specifically designed packages, and we are giving you in terms of even day-to-day touch points. So we have a sales team on ground that are able to come and basically meet you at the business and work with you on a day-to-day. That is different from the residential business.
Let me get specific. Huh?
Yeah.
When you say domestic or home use, for instance, home will have movies.
Yeah.
Different categories of movies, including animation, what we normally refer to as cartoons. Okay? Pubs, from what I have seen, tend to have sports, Formula One,
news.
Yes.
Yes.
And they don't have National Geographic.
Some do.
Yeah, some do.
This is why I'm going here. You see, I mentioned National Geographic specifically, well, because I like National Geographic, but because when somebody is at a pub, okay, there are two things that most Kenyans will want. News time, they want to listen to news. Other times, they want to watch football. And I've observed, I'm not much of a football fan myself, but I've observed people want to watch. There are specific matches, you'll find a pub is completely full.
Yeah.
And when you ask, you're told, this team is playing against the other.
Yeah.
But if I'm at home, can I watch that same game?
Yes, you can watch the same game. So the other bit of looking at it is we are saying that as a responsible corporate entity, we are responsible in terms of airing the right content in the right place. So you may find a pub is a public viewing place, different from the home. So we have to ensure that we have the right content being aired in the pub. Yeah.
Why did you choose to do this and in this manner? Why say, let's link up with businesses and see what it is that we can offer? Why was that then the focus of attention?
So basically, we want to, like I mentioned, we want to connect to our customers at their points of aspirations, the challenges they face on a day-to-day basis. For instance, today we are faced with the COVID pandemic. Yeah. So we realize that as a business that is customer-centric, we have listened to customers over time. We've listened to their views, and that's why we've come up with packages specifically designed to meet them at their various points of pains. Yeah.
So if you, for example, operate let's say it's business. Now let's move from pub. Let's go to the others.
Yeah.
The others, you said hotel.
Yes.
So you're running a hotel.
Yeah.
A hotel therefore has the restaurant, then it has the various rooms.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you look at it, then you ask yourself, if you have 100 rooms and each of them has a TV set, and each individual needs to choose what they want to watch, is this now where DSTV business comes in
Yes.
terms of now how you even set up the installation
Yes.
and the packages and the access to this?
Exactly.
So what is now the difference there? What is it that you offer the hotel operator?
So maybe I might talk about the previous and the now.
Yes.
So previously, before we revamped the packages, our customers were limited to 2 options. Yeah. So if you had an hotel, you are limited to either being on Hotel Light or Hotel Premium. Now we are moving you to stay basic, ultra, and essential. So we are giving you more room in terms of even affordability as well as value for money. And like you've mentioned, so we have different types of setups. We have analog, we have IPTV. So we are telling you that we have an advantage as DSTV in terms of we are able to cater to all types of installations, even for hotels, for pubs, and even for offices. Yeah.
What kind of services are you competing with?
Of course, we have the free-to-airs.
Right.
Basically, anyone who can offer any alternative
Any entertainment.
Yes. And that's why we have to keep innovating. We have to keep transforming, just to be able to stay ahead of the competition. Yeah.
Rights are a big issue, especially when it comes to sports, and we see obviously that sports takes up the attention of people who go to some of these establishments, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, then making sure that you have the rights to sporting competitions, whether it's the leagues of football or big activities like the Olympics and such.
Yeah.
How then have you positioned yourself to make sure that you're always on top of the game in terms of that?
Yeah, so thank you. So one, as I mentioned, we are a responsible corporate. So we have a legal responsibility in terms of even playing our part in curbing piracy. Yeah. And then secondly, like you've mentioned, we are an aggregator of local and international content, including the sports. And a lot of effort goes towards producing this content, both from an individual perspective, and therefore we have to make sure that there is justified return on investment to the people who come up with this content. And that's why we are telling people that for DSTV business or for MultiChoice, whatever content we offer to you, you're assured it's the right content, superior, and we take care of all these concerns and all these needs.
Yeah, maybe not always. Also going towards longevity,
Yeah.
how can then your customers be assured that if they get it today, they will get it tomorrow?
Yeah.
That if you're providing this particular league today, and I know that I'll be able to find it as a business client, then that is hinging the people who are coming into my establishment on this product, for example. How can I be sure that in terms of longevity, it will be there tomorrow and in periods to come?
Okay, so one, we've been in the market long enough, so we are not shutting ship tomorrow. Secondly, of course, we continue to listen to our customers. We continue to, of course, do our own research, and so we always strive to assure our customers that we'll continue being innovative. We'll continue coming up with content. We'll continue looking for ways of making entertainment needs of our customers better.
You know, the entire concept of, DSTV, I'm now talking as a consumer.
Yeah.
I've always found it particularly interesting. But what I've also found interesting is, as you refer to it, the innovative ways in which you meet the needs.
Yeah.
Now, the other service providers who compete with you, who for the longest time, in addition to their services, provided internet services.
Yeah.
Have you entered that space, and are you competing with them on that particular sphere as well?
That's a very valid and good point. So like I said, we'll continue to be transformative. I may not give the specifics right now, but definitely we are always on a journey to better the lives of our customers. So, I mean, it's a valid point, and watch out for this space,
All right.
Yeah.
So DSTV is available across the country.
Yes.
Because it's satellite. You can't go to a place and you're told our coverage has not reached this far. So it's available everywhere, every part of the country.
Yeah.
And if you now want customer support, is customer support also extensive across the country? Can I get, like you're saying, with these business packages, you have somebody to come to visit your premise, to sort you out, to sort out your issues. If I'm operating, our friend Yegon operates a business in Moyale town. Now he takes up this package. Will he be able to get all the services that you're offering, the person in Nairobi?
Yeah, so customer service is all about making the onboarding journey of our customers memorable or easy. Yeah. So traditionally, establishments or offices used to operate 5 days a week. That's Monday to Friday.
Yep.
But
8 to 5.
8 to 5. But with the evolution of technology, with the changing of times, it's now a 24-hour economy, 7 day a week. So we've also seen the opportunity and realized that we need to be there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, so to speak. Therefore, we've improved the onboarding journey. We now have dedicated customer care lines for our commercial customers. We have a specific number, 0711 066 550. And we're also available on email, that is Kenya Dstv business at k.multichoice.com. So we've increased the touch points of easing the onboarding journey of our commercial customers.
What are some of the main concerns that you keep receiving from your customers? What do they need addressed regularly?
So, of course, the biggest issue was, of course, costs. Currently, the economy is on survival mode, and that's why we revamped these packages basically to give the customers more affordable options and more room in terms of flexibility to be able to face these uncertain times. Yeah.
What about cost? Because cost is always a sticking point for a lot of people in terms of, why pay so much for television entertainment?
Yeah.
What are you doing to answer to those cries, whether it's business, because now the business is essentially splitting their revenue between the entertainment issues, TV, that entertainment being one of them. So what are you doing to meet the needs of cost?
Our initial commercial packages, for you to have enjoyed comprehensive viewing, you had to have an add-on. You had to add Nat Geo, CNN, SuperSport 3. So in the revamp packages, we've basically removed that need. So for instance, our Stay Basic package now has it now has Nat Geo. It now has more news channels. It has more sports channels. So you don't have to add, like you said, you love Nat Geo. You don't have to have it as an add-on. And we are charging you previously for the add-on. Okay. Yeah, so we've eliminated that need to cut on the cost side.
So you've not necessarily lowered the cost, but you've added a product.
We've given, it's a value add to take care of the perceived cost, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you consider it to be a very competitive business?
Yes.
Why?
Because we continue to be the number one video entertainment company in the country, and we continue to bring more customers on board. We continue to see more customers coming back. Customers who are previously disconnected, we continue to see them coming back. And therefore, we believe that, we continue to be the market leader.
How do you determine that you're the market leader? What are the indicators?
Of course, looking at the subscriber base, we have the
largest.
Yeah, we have the largest subscriber base. Yeah.
Okay. Dstv is actually has been in the country and in the market for quite a while, and a number of things that have changed with the market in terms of even viewer preferences.
Yeah.
Are you noticing some changes in terms of even in business?
Yeah.
Are you going to some clients who tell you, now I have various options I'm considering, and therefore I want you to give me the reason why I should continue using your services?
Yeah.
Are there new entrants or new ways in which these businesses are consuming the same product?
Yeah. Yeah, so customer needs continue to evolve, will continue to evolve, and that's why as DSTV, as MultiChoice, we can't afford not to be innovative, yeah? And that's why, like I mentioned, we will continue to meet our customers at their various points of pain, various points of challenges, just to be able to make sure that we are present at the negotiating table and we continue to serve them, yeah.
With the permeation and spread of internet, for example, so a lot of options that have been presented to people to be able to hook up to the internet and get other forms of television entertainment. How have you been able to deal with that? Because the proliferation is quite strong in terms of those who now have a set-up box, plug it to the internet, and are able to have access to, thousands of channels in terms of entertainment. How have you been able to counter that? And how would you be able to counter that moving forward?
So the short of it is that, like I mentioned, we appeal to a wider variety of setups. So we're able to even integrate for instance, like I mentioned, IPTV. So we're able to, if you have an Ethernet port, we're able to integrate to such services, and we'll continue to even be more innovative to make sure that we are not outdone by competition. Yeah.
Once again, just give us that dedicated business customer support line, 0711
066 550.
0711 066
550.
550. Yes. So people who would like any of these packages, especially now the revamped package, call this number, and it's an easier onboarding process. Like you've said, they come in and they are able to get the services, and you're supporting the businesses as you run your business.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Yes. And we also have the email, kenyadstv@k.multichoice.com.
Kenya DSTV Business.
Yes, at ke.multichoice.com.
Yes. Kenya DSTV Business at ke.multichoice.com.
Yes.
Musa, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Musa Huko is a business manager at DSTV, and he's been telling us about DSTV Business and the new revamped packages that they have for businesses. If you're in entertainment pubs and restaurants, if you're in hotels, if you're in offices as well, you're running DSTV for your office, get this, and you're good to go. Asante for joining us. Kenya's biggest conversation takes a break at 28 minutes past 8. We're live on SpiceFM, KTN Home, and online.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
No, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in McQueen?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, this resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Seriousness Maritim, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Seriousness Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia nini? Amalize aende. Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest
Cloudy
conversation.
Nairobi at 15, highs of 24 and lows of 13 today. We're looking at light rain in Nyeri at 14. That'll be the low, going to highs of 22. 25 will be the high in Nakuru, where it's mostly sunny at 15. Looking into Mombasa this morning, light rain in some parts now. Those sunny conditions will come back, however. Highs of 29 and lows of 23. In Malindi, partly sunny conditions at 27. Highs of 30 and lows of 25. Kisumu light rain continues at 21, highs of 27 and lows of 19. And in Kakamega, it's 21 degrees and sunny, highs of 26 and lows of 16. Kampala's cloudy at 22, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam light rain continues at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 23. Johannesburg this morning, sunny at 17, summer is kicking in, highs of 28 and lows of 13. And Lagos, rain showers continue at 25, highs of 30. Kinshasa is partly sunny at 23, that'll be the low for today, going to highs of 31.
forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
Ceci, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has you ever that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen.
A bit of advice. Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yeah, but still continues on Mombasa Road this morning, inbound. Quite some traffic today. The city centre is taking all of it from Gong Road, coming off the Thika Superhighway, Jogo Road, through Landis Road. That whole Kileleshwa area, State House, coming out through Westlands onto Chiromo. Absolutely jam-packed today. Gong Road is doing the thing. It being Friday, something happens on Gong Road. Don't know what that is. Langata Road also spilling off from the southern bypass. Coming in from that whole Otiende area, coming off of the bypass out into the city centre. Packed. All jam and no butter today. Hopefully things don't get too much toastier. Right. Keep an eye on things. Help us out. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Keep an eye on what's going on that Thika Superhighway, at least for now. Talk in a bit.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 27 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The Situation Room. In the room with you is Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, and CT Muga. Happy Friday. So I can see somebody's in Zambia. Who's that?
Somebody's in Zambia.
Boni Makondo.
Right. He is
Zambia.
tuned in from Zambia this morning. As mentioned, that mostly those that are victims, it's because of the social economic status, and the offenders are breadwinners. So in the line of communication and support, when they report and an arrest is made, what happens is that the victims and families that are the breadwinner has been arrested.
Yeah.
What is the case?
From that conversation that we were having at 7 o'clock with International Justice Mission. So something is in the news today. Leah has read it in the news and actually even played the clips of what was happening in the National Assembly yesterday. And this was when Principal Secretary in the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Ambassador Kamau Macharia, submitted a report where he said 89 Kenyans, a majority of them domestic workers, have died in the past 2 years in Saudi Arabia, where authorities reported that the cause of death was cardiac arrest. 2 years, 89 Kenyans, officially cardiac arrest. He says this adds a new dimension to cases of abuse of Kenyans working in Saudi Arabia that have in the past prompted the government to ban its citizens from seeking work in that country. This 41 Kenyans have died in Saudi Arabia, 28 of them domestic workers. Last year, 48 Kenyans, 28 of them domestic workers, died in the Middle East. The number of Kenyans reported to be in distress at the embassy in 2019 were 883. But the cases have risen to 1,025 in the last 1 year, according to the report submitted to the Labour Committee of the National Assembly yesterday by the PS of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He told the committee that the government accepted the cardiac arrest explanation given by the Saudi Arabian government and never conducted autopsies on the bodies to independently determine the cause of deaths. This triggered condemnation from shocked MPs who suspected foul play in the deaths and pressed the government to do more to protect Kenyans in the Gulf against abuse. Belgut MP Nelson Koech wondered how 89 people could have died as a result of one cause, cardiac arrest, all of them. There's no way 89 people can die of a specific disease. The PS agreed with the MPs that all the deaths cannot be explained by a common factor, but insisted that his ministry's functions do not include determination of such matters. He said it's a Ministry of Labour and the National Employment Authority that should do this, but they have reduced our ambassador to an undertaker, and they want me to be a mortician. The statistics indicate that the dire reality we face, it warrants bold and decisive action to curb further suffering of Kenyan domestic workers in Saudi Arabia. This, what I've just been reading, is covered in The Nation. The Standard has a story where they've gone with the other angle of what the PS was saying. He's saying we may need to ban travel to Saudi Arabia for domestic jobs. He says, look, and that's why he was presenting this and saying, this is what we're being told by the government of Saudi Arabia. These Kenyans have died, and we're told, cardiac arrest, cardiac arrest, cardiac arrest. My embassy in Saudi Arabia is not equipped to look at these causes. What I have, by the end of last year, more than 1,000 cases of Kenyans reporting to the embassy that they are in distress. We have a National Employment Authority. We have a Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. Those ones seem not to have done much. We still have very many Kenyans who are going through various agencies registered and regulated by the government, who are finding themselves in these countries, seeking employment. When they get there, and we've talked about this before, some of them get their proper legal channel, others get there and they are not in the proper legal channel. They thought they are. They actually are not. It's a big issue that's unfolding in the Middle East. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is admitting that there's a big issue. And in fact, the ministry is even saying, I think just to address this matter, maybe one of the things that we can do is say, no more domestic workers going to Saudi Arabia. Is this a solution?
Do we have the numbers of individuals who qualify as domestic workers who are currently working in Saudi Arabia?
Currently employed? He must have presented this. It's not covered in this particular report, but it said 1,025 are Kenyans who are reported to be in distress at the Kenyan embassy in Saudi Arabia in the past 1 year. That tells you that we have more than this number who are working in Saudi Arabia. And a majority of those that go to work in Saudi Arabia work in as domestic workers. So that tells you that, yes, we have very many Kenyans who are in Saudi Arabia working as domestic workers.
There have been many, many calls for the regulation of this entire process. That can you be sure the situation within which an individual is going to be working when they get there? Then, should something happen, are there avenues for investigation? Are there then avenues for necessary prosecution should something go wrong? Because you got to look at this. 89 people having been reported suffering from cardiac arrest, and that was the cause of their death.
Yeah.
And of that number, a significant percentage work in domestic care.
Yep.
So the eyebrows, of course, will go up. This is not the first time. There are people who have come back from working in the Middle East and have talked about the dire situations within which they work, the abuse that they've had to suffer while working within these jobs. There have been many calls from, historically, for regulation of this particular sector, or for the Kenyan government to know exactly what happens within a situation. What have we been told? That people then, you're entering into a contract, 2 years, they tell you that we're going to remit your salary this way. You know when you're leaving here, the details of where you're going to work.
Yep.
But unfortunately, for a lot of these cases, once you arrive there, the situation changes.
You know what? I'm refusing to buy it.
These are accounts that people have given who have made it out and have come back.
Yep.
Right? Who say that, all right, once you get there, things change and it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
The circumstances or the situation under which you were promised to have this job then are not the same. And you find yourself in a hands-tied position. So you're not able to just get up and leave and come back. Right? situations of abuse have arisen.
Yeah.
Situations of denying of basic rights of food and proper shelter and things like that have arisen. So then denying of being able to travel back for holiday or even to get some time off, those have come about. But then to get to this point where we're talking about
death,
this is very different, because then you have to ask your question. What situation has been present to arrive at the place where cardiac arrest is the cause of death? Something else must have happened prior to that.
Yeah.
These people are not just dropping down or fainting in the middle of the
Kenyans
street.
are not dying in Kenya out of cardiac
arrest to that number.
So that you say that these Kenyans who were susceptible to cardiac arrest in this country have gone to work in Saudi Arabia and, well, they just died, because even if they were in Kenya, they could have died of cardiac arrest. There are serious issues that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is raising here. There are serious issues that have been raised. And that's why I'm saying, look, we have a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have a Kenyan embassy in Saudi Arabia. We have Kenyan missions in these countries. We have a Ministry of Labor. We have a National Employment Authority that knows who is in employment. We also have ways in which we look at how to get our people outside this country. What is our biggest export today in Kenya? It's not coffee.
Resource.
It is not tea. It's not flowers. Our biggest foreign exchange earner is Kenyans in the diaspora. As we speak today, remitting money back to the country. Remittances top everything else. So our biggest export is human resource. And our management of that human resource
It's
and
poor
making
at
sure
best.
that...
Poor at best.
What absolute nonsense is this?
Actually, the nonsense is actually incorporated in a deal that we actually signed with Saudi Arabia. The Kenyan government and the Saudi Arabian government signed a bilateral agreement on domestic labor. Now, if you look at just excerpts of that particular deal, one of the things that was supposed to do, and I read, the agreement facilitates cooperation between the two parties, including employment of Kenyan domestic workers, rights of employers and workers, and recruitment procedures, in addition to controlling recruitment expenses in both countries. Both parties agreed recruiting Kenyan workers should be done through offices, companies, manpower agencies, or job placement centers that cooperate under valid licenses, as well as being unified work contracts among stakeholders. According to the agreement, the Kenyan government must take necessary measures before sending Kenyan workers who must be qualified and medically fit.
Just read that last sentence again, CT.
Kenyan government must?
Yes.
Take necessary measures before sending Kenyan workers who must be qualified and medically fit to work in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Why I'm reading this is because I am supporting what you said. If indeed measures were taken to ensure that these people are medically fit, you can't go to work and suddenly just develop a heart problem. It doesn't happen that way. Heart problems arise when you have a heart condition, meaning you're unwell. A cardiac arrest, yes, it can happen. It can occur. Yeah. Stress can bring it about. There can be many causes. But that number, in that period of time, no.
Surely.
No.
We want to open up the phone lines, 0719-012-600. This conversation about Kenyans going to seek employment, especially in the Middle East, is big. And let's hear people's personal experiences. Either you've been there, you've come back, or you have a relative who's gone there and they've come back, or a relative who went there and sadly did not come back, or you have a relative who is there. Let's hear these experiences. How do you get to hear about the job? How do you get recruited? Do you sign a contract here? Do you go through that medical check that we are talking about? The Kenyan government signed and said, yes, we are going to make sure, first of all, we register agencies.
Yes.
Second of all, we make sure that we have looked at the people who are going. So Kenya should have a register of everybody who has left this country going to seek employment in Saudi Arabia specifically, because we have a deal with the Saudi government. Have we met our end of the bargain? Is our government doing what it's supposed to have done?
And Eric, significantly, it must meet the needs of employment requirements in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
So you're telling me that the workers who come from Kenya should actually be treated in the same manner as people who work in Saudi Arabia, or as the natives of that.
Natives of Saudi Arabia or any other international
this system by the time you're being placed here in Nairobi, this system should be aware of where you are actually going to work. And that information on the other end should be made available here. So you're going to a family of 6, for example.
There's direct
they reside
traceability and
in
information.
this area. These individuals work in this occupation. You are going to be working for a certain times.
X number of hours,
a
X
day.
number of off days,
Exactly.
leave,
that
sick
information
leave.
should be made possible. You will be paid this amount. It will be remitted in this manner. This is what this agreement
And our
is
embassy
saying.
in Saudi Arabia would be able to know that this is exactly what we're dealing with. Hussein in Nairobi, good morning.
Morning, guys.
Good morning, Hussein.
Yes. I would like to contribute about the topic that you're discussing right now on Kenyans going to seek employment in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, go ahead.
When I was young, actually, I finished high school. I was supposed to be recruited, actually going to the Middle East. And at the point of the recruitment, I was supposed to go work there for another hotel company. The terms of the job was very, very good at that point when I was very, very young. Fortunately, I did not take up the job. Yeah, but I saw that the agencies are very, very powerful. There's a cousin of mine who was deported, I think, 3 weeks ago, from Qatar, and just because of non-compliance of work procedures.
What does that mean? Non-compliance of work procedures?
Just a simple, let me just say, a simple misconduct. Yeah.
What was it?
That
What
was
this
very, very
misconduct?
minimal.
What was it?
I think just job-related misconduct.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes, probably there's a small mistake that you can do.
Disagreement with the employer.
Yes, a very, very minimal. I mean, something that will not actually warrant summary dismissal. But now, actually, it culminated actually for him to be deported. But now, what really made me wonder is where were the agencies at that point? He tried to contact them. He tried to contact whoever he could. If the agencies turned him down.
Yep.
A lot of issues. So I think, and we had this conversation. There's a person actually, the guy who hosted a Twitter space sometimes back about Kenyans going to Saudi Arabia and the horrors that they face. And I was able to contribute in that conversation. And there were some agents there, even some of the agents who are Kenyans who are actually residing in the Middle East.
Let me ask you, Hussein.
Yes.
As you said, the agencies are very powerful.
Very powerful.
First of all,
very powerful.
let's just describe to us the structure of these agencies. Are the agencies based in Saudi Arabia with branches in Kenya, or are different agencies in Kenya and different agencies?
These are Kenyan agencies that are very well structured, and they have actually set up offices in the Middle East.
All right.
Especially where they are able to reap more, let me say, commissions on bringing in employees from Kenya. They actually much more easier for them to work on that side than here. So and when I say they are very, very powerful, they use their resources even in the Kenyan systems to actually infiltrate the labor ministries. So that's why now we are having this kind of lapses.
So how do they exercise this power that they have?
No, actually, it's all about using resources. I mean, you know very well as Kenyans how we normally say this is Kenya. When we want to do something, we are in Kenya. You know that expression and whatever people do in government offices. So it's all about the money that they have. So you can imagine someone takes over 3,000 people, employees in the Middle East, the kind of money that they are making. So they are actually prepared to use that money to protect themselves as much as they can.
So do they know the situations that people then are entering into when they start these jobs? Are they aware, because
they are aware
apparently
100%.
this is a requirement, by both governments, or wherever there's an agreement, to say that you must be aware of what is going on for each individual who goes to work in a domestic situation. That you must know the situation.
Huko, let me be very honest with you. You go take workers from a place like Kwale. Let me just give an example of Kwale. I mean, nearly 50%, if not 70% of the population are extremely poor people. Yeah, and you throw them to Saudi Arabia. I mean, they will go. I mean, even if they are going to be paid the wages that other domestic workers in Nairobi are being paid, you know what? They will go, and the kind of promises that they are given. So it is deep-rooted.
This is my question, though. Who's making the promise?
The agencies.
It is the agent that is making the promise, and it's not necessarily true.
Why?
The agencies are not making true promises.
True promises.
Let me be very honest with you. They are not making. Okay, unfortunately, whenever we are having this kind of conversations about Kenyans being mistreated abroad, people tend to move away from the agencies. And in fact, this kind of conversations really make me wonder. It's like the agencies are not even involved. So we blame the government, blame the embassy, blame whoever that is there blame Labour Ministry. But now we are turning a blind eye on the agency. And you can imagine the kind of power that they wield. And I'm saying that because I know what they can do. So I think the problem has also to be extended. I mean, the problem and the solution has to also to be extended to the agencies. We have to actually vet these agencies. We have to look at Labour Ministry and how they are able to vet agencies and see where we can be able to improve on that. Otherwise, we will still continue to be talking about, because it's a big money kind of an investment. Yes.
It's big business.
So
Hussein.
I know probably an agent is going to call here right now and rebuke me, but it's okay. I don't have a problem with that, but I can be very honest with you, that's very problem.
We'd like to have an agent actually calling and explaining how they structure their business, where they get the workers from. Do they follow the due process? What's the due process? Is it even doing that whole medical checkups and all and getting their records? And
you heard what is happening in Qatar right now. They are building stadiums for World Cup, and there is so much mistreatment of workers. I mean, this is actually what Arabs do. There's nothing. It is actually, even in the history. I mean, they have been doing slave trade all through. Since centuries. So this is actually something that is in their blood. So you come and tell us now. We'll try our best to make it look better. There's nothing like that. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's a problem here that needs to be addressed, and
very true.
It is very big.
Very true. Thank you very much, Hussein.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Hussein.
0719-012-600. We're having a conversation about what's happening in the Middle East. Yes, so the PS in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Kamau Macharia, went to the Committee on Labour in the National Assembly yesterday, and he said, in the last 2 years, 89 Kenyans have died in Saudi Arabia, specifically out of cardiac arrest. More Kenyans have died in Saudi Arabia. We have had a number of people who go to the embassy in Saudi Arabia reporting that they're in distress. In 2019, about 900 people. In the last 1 year, over 1,020 people have actually gone to the embassy and registered situations of distress. This is a very high number. What's happening? Kenya, Saudi Arabia have a bilateral agreement on Kenyans going to work in Saudi Arabia. Good thing where Kenya has found an opportunity for Kenyans to work outside the country. But are we managing it well?
Consider, we have similar understandings with the UK with regards to health workers. Yes, but even before that agreement was arrived at, many Kenyans who are trained in the healthcare services have been going abroad. You do not hear of these stories. Nope. Even those who go abroad and perhaps do menial jobs, you still do not hear of these stories.
Yep.
The question that we must ask is, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, do they uphold human rights standards for foreign workers? That's the question that I need to ask. Because these complaints...
Foreign workers coming from where?
It does not really matter where, because I know there'll be discordance. Why I'm saying there'll be discordance, if you talk about foreign workers who come from Europe, they'll be treated differently.
This is what I'm saying.
If you say foreign workers who come from the neighboring country of Saudi, they'll be treated differently.
Absolutely.
If you consider foreign workers who are Africans,
That's what I'm saying. And then you have to also, because you always talk about things that have a cultural tinge,
Yes.
right? So you have to ask yourself the question, are we looking at the behavior of treatment of foreign workers who specifically come from Africa, treated a certain way because of how you have had cultures treating people like this? You will
Yes.
find that neighboring countries will not be treated the same way. You will find that Europeans who come to work in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will not be treated that way. It's an ugly, sticky thing to talk about, but it's necessary to look at it because we have people who are coming back to Kenya in boxes.
And the numbers are increasing.
And the numbers are increasing. Yes.
And what about those who are coming back? And the tales of war are astounding.
Yeah.
By the time BBC does a program that deals with such an issue, it is not a light issue.
It's not a light issue.
No, it is
It's
not.
not a light issue. We're going to continue the conversation into the next hour. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We've been live on KTN Home since the top of the hour. The conversation continues on SpiceFM, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, Malindi. Or you can tune into the SpiceFM conversation on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. 4 minutes to 9.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality.
We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well, but you know,
2 minutes to 9. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. So the question then we want to ask is, looking at what the PS told Parliament, that state is considering banning of travel to Saudi for domestic jobs. Should Kenya ban travel to Saudi Arabia for these domestic jobs? Out of all these cases that we're hearing, left, right, and center, what do you think? 0719-012-600. Muthui says there are good agents out there and there are many cartels who are after money and they don't really care at all for the well-being of their Kenyan employees. Go to the UAE and find how many Kenyans are dumped at the airport because of those cartels and what they're doing. So there are 1 or 2 good agents. For every 1 good agent, how many bad agents are there? And are they registered in this country? Are they regulated by the country? Does the Ministry of Labour know about this? Does the National Employment Authority know about this? If they have still been able to get through the cracks and they end up there, and then people are wondering what happened to our relatives when they went to these countries, should we just say that as policy, Kenya has banned travel of Kenyan workers to Saudi Arabia for domestic work? Anything else maybe?
Eric, you know something?
Yeah.
The number of Kenyans who want or seek employment outstrips the employment opportunities we have in this country. That one we've established.
That is for sure.
So you ask anybody who is an employer of sorts and ask them about the numbers that they encounter whenever they send out an application. You'll be shocked.
Yep.
I have been in a position where I have seen those numbers.
Yep.
Now, it tells you of the desperation that people have. Now, because of desperation,
people will go.
They will go.
I think now the problem is, if we ban it, the black market thrives.
It will thrive.
The underground movement of Kenyans going to Saudi Arabia.
And the treatment will be even worse.
Let's hear the calls after the news. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 9 a.m.
spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The deteriorating relationship between Senate and the executive worsened after lawmakers fined Energy CS Charles Keter an undisclosed amount of money for snubbing their summons. A day earlier, senators had censured Keter and his petroleum counterpart John Munyes for ignoring their invites to explain hiked electricity and fuel prices. Keter had been summoned by the Senate Energy Committee to explain the financial status of the cash-strapped Kenya Power, but gave it a wide berth.
Expresses its dissatisfaction with the conduct of the two cabinet secretaries, namely Honorable John K. Munyes, Cabinet Secretary for Petroleum and Mining, and Honorable Charles Keter, Cabinet Secretary for Energy, in failing to appear before the Senate to address these urgent issues, thereby abdicating their responsibilities as set out in Article 153(3) and 4 of the Constitution. Will as many as of that opinion say aye?
DCI officers in Trans Nzoia County are investigating an incident to identify the owner of an AK-47 rifle that was found hidden in the Kitale Club Forest opposite Kitale School. The county's police commander Jacinta Wesonga said the gun was found by a resident who went into the forest to relieve himself.
We were called by the Kitale Club manager that a good Samaritan had just informed him that he entered the Kitale Club Forest to ease himself, and he looked at a tree that was next to him and saw something protruding in a black paper bag. When he pulled it out, he realized that it was a firearm, so he decided to run to the club and inform the Kitale Club manager that he has just seen a firearm at the Kitale Club Forest.
Wesonga asked members of the public to work with the police towards the recovery of illegal firearms, which would put one in danger if it fell into the hands of the wrong person.
We request members of the public to always pass such information, and we really thank God that this is a man who loves God. He decided to inform people who are responsible, because this firearm, the magazine is full with 7.62 ammunition rounds, and it's a firearm that it's still serviceable. So we thank God that it did not land in the hands of the owner who hid it there.
Cases of insecurity are on the rise at Kwale Girls High School following the lack of a security wall around the school compound. Head teacher Anastasia Msili said that severally experienced cases of theft at the school, with outsiders being the main culprits. Msili called on the government and donors to assist them in constructing a security wall, as the situation had sparked fear among students and teachers.
Kama tutapata ua, itakuwa rahisi kuboresha mazingira na pia kufanya wanafunzi wawe na ulinzi mzuri, na si wanafunzi peke yake, hata walimu na wafanyikazi. Na wakati mwingine huenda vitu vyetu vinapotelea hapa na pale kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa ua, kwa sababu unaweza kupitia mahali popote pale ukifika kule huko wetu shuleni.
6 police officers linked to the murder of the two Kianjokoma brothers will have to wait until next week Friday for the court to make a ruling on their bail application. The officers, through their lawyer Danstan Omari and Cliff Mbeta, say that there is no valid reason for the court to deny them bail. They further say that the arrest was due to public outcry, as there is no actual evidence that links them to the death of the two brothers.
They cannot access police weapons, not even their uniforms.
What material have they placed before you, my lord, today to show that there was interference, actual or perceived?
Presidential aspirant Mukisa Kitui is said to be crowned Bukusu leader and spokesman in an elaborate function slated for this weekend. Mukisa will be handed the community's stool of power in the ceremony, where elders are expected to equally endorse his presidential bid. He would also be handed the unique chair, shawl, heart and armband, signifying him as the community's chosen son to champion the region's interests. And finally, renal dialysis, major surgeries and diagnostic tests such as MRI and CT scans top the list of benefits that NHIF aims to cut in a drive to reduce payouts. The government's insurer's cost-cutting drive will reduce payouts to hospitals by at least 2.9 billion shillings in the year to June 2022, forcing thousands of beneficiaries to top up for their medical bills. The maximum cover for MRI scan will be reduced to 9,600 from the current 15,000 per recession, while settlement of city scans is set to be capped at 6,000 from 8,000. The average payout for renal dialysis will fall to 6,000 from the current 9,500 if the proposals are approved. NHIF CEO Peter Kamunyo said a significant number of patients with chronic illnesses were joining the fund after falling ill, adding that they were already facing mounting claims from hospitals. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We're still in traffic hour on Mombasa Road. Still a lot of traffic around that Imara Daima diversion going in and outbound of the city today. The southern bypass looking pretty good until you get to the turnoff at Langata Road. Langata Road then going into the city quite full as you get to the Timor roundabout. Bagadi Way not looking too bad. You can use that as an option. You're going to get to Ngong Road, however, and then it's slow moving out towards Community. But you should be able to hack this, guys. It's slowing down a little bit on Bunyala Road still. Going out then towards Nyeri Stadium roundabout, out towards Uhuru Highway. That looks all right. Still building up, though, on Jogger Road, and still a lot of traffic on the Thika Superhighway. We're still in traffic hour, about half an hour or so. Things should level out, but we'll keep going through it as we can. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's talk on text as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The only
7
way
minutes
to
after
start
9.
your
Very
day.
good morning to you. How are you doing? It's Kenya's biggest conversation, and it continues. Nini city usijali. Hii Kenya. Watu ni kuelewana.
Ungesema hiyo mapema.
Watu ni kuzungumza. How are you doing, City?
I'm actually doing very well.
Very well. Today's proverb from Ethiopia?
Yes, today's proverb from the Ethiopia.
All right.
Okay.
You did not do it.
Well, it doesn't have to do anything to do with ballot boxes. One who has yet to learn to walk cannot climb a ladder.
One who has yet to learn to walk cannot climb a ladder.
Yes, this is the proverb.
The proverb for today.
From the Ethiopia.
On Monday, you're giving us a Luo proverb.
I'm giving you a Luo proverb.
Very good.
Yes.
The Monday proverb.
Hey, I'm ready now.
Hey. 9 is the page. The Standard is the paper. The headline, State miles banning travel to Saudi Arabia for domestic jobs. The government is now considering suspending travel by Kenyans traveling to Saudi Arabia to be domestic workers. Foreign Affairs PS Macharia Kamau told the Labour and Social Welfare Committee at Parliament yesterday that the move was informed by increase in the number of deaths of Kenyans in Saudi Arabia and cases of mistreatment. Macharia said since 2019 there had been an increase in cases of deaths and distress calls involving domestic workers, noting that the situation is getting out of control. The committee heard that in 2019, 3 Kenyans, 2 of whom were domestic workers, died in Saudi Arabia. 2020, 48 Kenyans died in the country, and out of this number, 29 were domestic workers. This year, 2021, 28 domestic workers have died out of 41 deaths reported of Kenyans in Saudi Arabia, with more than 1,900 distress calls by Kenyans in Saudi Arabia. These statistics indicate the reality that we face. It warrants bold, decisive action to curb further suffering of Kenyan domestic workers in Saudi Arabia. Grave, isn't it?
It is grave, but unfortunately the reality that I am gleaming from all this is not quite what the PS is saying. You see, what were the tenets of slavery? All right? One, you are captured, sold, and you have no rights, zero rights. You are a property. You are an asset. You belong to someone else. Now, let's give it modern day context. There are people who desperately need a job because they need the money. Already, that puts you in a captive position. You're already disadvantaged. Before you do anything, you don't even have bargaining power. So, here comes an opportunity for you to go and work in a foreign land. And you've heard stories of people who've gone to work in the past who've come back and have bettered their lives. So, you opt to go. And it isn't the first time these stories have been coming out. Stories have been coming out of that particular region from people who've gone to work in Saudi Arabia from West Africa.
True.
And the stories have been horrid. So here we have a situation where people go to work fine, they work. There's talk of them sending money back home to their parents, and then this ugly story of people being mistreated. And then worse still, our ministry comes and tells us, and we thank Mr. Macharia for this, we thank Ambassador Macharia. 89 Kenyans have died. Okay? Now, before they died, what condition were they in? Before they got to the condition where we are talking about their rights, when they signed those agreements to go abroad, when we agree to let our citizens go abroad, what is our understanding of the sort of rights they will have when they work in that particular country? Now, if you ask me, and if I look at the stories that have emanated from the BBC with regards to how people who work there, especially Africans, and how they are actually traded. One employer takes you to another employer. Whoever they take you to pays them more money. Your passport is taken away from you, so it's something you never have.
Right.
You are given terms and conditions on which you work, in which you do not have a say. Now, if I refer to this as modern day slavery, I would not be really far off the mark.
And it's all coming from this particular region. Now, there's somebody who's typed in a message here. Kiambeni, what's he saying? What's Kiambeni saying?
The cabinet government should learn how the Philippines is handling this sector to protect Filipino workers, overseas workers. The government handles overseas workers at the airport. They have special area for processing. The government doesn't allow citizens to travel until they are verified agents and verified destination. The Filipino OSW, not quite sure what that is, in turn agrees to pay taxes and etc. The Filipinos are confident their government will rescue and protect in terms of distress calls.
Yeah, and actually this is, it's true. A number of years back, the government of the Philippines looked at the situation in the Philippines and they knew what we needed to do is get our workers outside, get them job opportunities. So the government went and did a direct negotiation, just similar to what was reported that's having taken place here. Direct negotiation with the governments of the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia. Our workers are going to come. However, we are the ones who are going to be sending the workers. So you go to the government, then the government is the one that posts you to Saudi Arabia. The government is the one that is responsible for your stay in Saudi Arabia. If anybody in Saudi Arabia has an issue with this particular worker, you don't deal with them, you deal with the government of the Philippines. If this person needs to be jailed or for whatever, take them back to the Philippines. They'll be dealt with the laws of the Philippines. The government is the one that's responsible. So the government is the one in charge, not some agent, some middleman, somebody have no control over. No, it is the government, the office in charge of this. An office was established. They got to a point where even this year, there was actually a news article in May by Reuters. The Philippines has suspended deployment of workers to Saudi Arabia after it received reports that their employers and recruiters are making them pay for COVID-19 testing, quarantine and insurance upon arrival in the kingdom. The Labour Secretary Sylvester Bello said in a May 27 order that his department will issue an official statement on resumption of deployment after this matter has been clarified accordingly. It was not immediately clear how many Filipinos bound for Saudi Arabia would be directly affected, but Saudi Arabia was the most preferred destination of overseas Filipino workers in 2019, according to government data, hosting out of 5 Filipinos who landed jobs abroad during that year. 1 out of every 5 Filipinos working outside the Philippines was in Saudi Arabia because it's well structured, it's managed and governed by the government. Here we are. We don't have, yes, we seem to have some law, some structure, some all, but then we've allowed some rogue middlemen to come in. People have complained about the rogue middlemen who've come in. The government has tried to rein in on these agencies and said, okay, all agencies must be registered here. But still, we are finding situations where once the people leave the country and they go to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or other countries in the Middle East, the government of Kenya seems not aware. The only thing that they tell you to do is if you are in a situation of distress, report to our embassy.
You know what is of interest, Eric?
Many people have died in Saudi Arabia, despite all this thing of if you're in distress or if you're doing what.
You know, there are very many countries around the world that offer job opportunities. Huh? Let me just read for you the top 10 so that you understand. It isn't just Saudi Arabia. It's Netherlands, Singapore, UK, China, Australia, Hong Kong, US, UAE. Now, top 10. But they are very clear about the terms of reference for people who go to work there. Now, it isn't just domestic workers. It's a whole range. Canada doesn't feature in that list, but Canada has, in the recent past, been actually opening its doors to immigrants, but a certain age, certain qualifications, and so forth. Okay. Now, the domestic worker, unfortunately, comes at the bottom of this particular pecking order because they don't go there because of any qualifications that they have. That's why they're called a domestic worker. And yet, this is also not true because in many countries, domestic workers are actually trained. It's not as though you just go there and figure out what to do. No. You are trained in working in a household and you know what to do.
Yep.
You can tell a country that cares for its citizens by the details and the care they take when it comes to their citizens living outside their own country. If you have an American in any part of the world, that American knows the country, their country will look after their interests. They don't even doubt.
No matter what. It's also been criticized at some point, even as a bit of arrogance, knowing that, you know what, I can be here, wherever it is on the globe, and I know that my government is going to take care of me, no matter what. Even if you misbehave, you know that the government will be there to take care of you.
Yes.
It's known. It's clear that whatever it is that you need, require,
your government has your interest at heart.
Yes.
How did the number get to 89?
Imagine.
There should have been alarm bells when the numbers got to 2. Then they got to 10 because you didn't get to 89 in a day. This is over a period of time.
28 this year.
No. 28.
28 this year. 48 last year. And how many in 3 in 2019? These are many.
If you do not take action, you don't care for your citizens, other people will feel they've been given a carte blanche to mistreat them.
And this is a PS in charge of foreign affairs who goes to parliament and says, maybe for reasons that they can come here and tell you, I don't know, the Ministry of Labour and the Employment Authority would be best placed to answer the question of, the welfare of the workers as they leave the country. What bank is this? I mean, it's like the government of the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Kenya is different from the government of the Ministry of Labour in Kenya.
And the Ministry of Labour, the ones who run the foreign office we have in Riyadh.
We're just all over. We don't really care. Yet, when the governor of the central bank and the CS in charge of the National Treasury are reporting the amount of remittances that are coming to this country, they're not saying, the remittances that came from our doctors working abroad and our engineers working abroad.
From our domestic workers
and then our domestic workers, they say Kenyans
working abroad.
The remittances that come. And we know from stories that we've heard that Kenyans working in these countries, especially those ones who are going for this domestic work, they are going there knowing full well, I'm working, I'm just saving, sending all the money back.
Straight.
So many of these, it's remittances that are coming, 90% of their income is
coming
directly coming home.
Yes.
And here we are, this is how we are treating this whole matter. So the question we are asking, and we want to hear from you, 0719-012-600, should the government ban travel to the Middle East for domestic work? Should the government ban? travel to the Middle East for domestic work. This is what the Foreign Affairs PS Ambassador Macharia Kamau was telling members of Parliament yesterday, that this is what we are considering, because where the things are thick. So we want to hear from you as we take the callers. Yes.
Are we talking about an inability then to streamline and regulate? Or are we saying that there's a reluctance to then find out what is really going on the other side? Because let's be honest, if done properly, this could actually be a beautiful income generator for Kenyans. It could be a great employment opportunity for many Kenyans on this side if it was regulated properly, if it was streamlined well. But it's going to take a little bit of elbow grease to get it done, right?
Yep.
So when there's a reluctance to get it done, that's why we're saying, you know what, ban it. In as much as it might be necessary to look at banning it because of these deaths and the improper treatment that we're seeing.
Is that the long-term solution?
But
is that the best solution?
Is that the best solution to take right now for something that could potentially raise profiles of individuals, profile of the country at large, strengthen the relationship between two sovereign bodies? Is it possible to maybe do a little bit more work to get it done?
Let's go to the phone lines. Many of them are right. Akim in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm good.
What do you feel? Should this be banned, or should things be done differently?
I wish it could be banned, but then on the other end, there's a big problem. But then, let me say this, There's 2 points. As one of you have just said, this is modern day slavery. You know, we have a community who do not value the black. To an extent of even your religion,
Yep.
You are this religion, you are black. You may belong to the religion, you are black. They'll never value you. You've had so many cases of such cases. We are getting bodies coming from that side. These people don't value you, and that's from my personal experience. Yeah.
What is your personal experience?
You know, my recent experience, in fact, there was a friend who wanted to go there. I really discouraged them. But then, given our poverty levels, they say, now what do I do?
Okay.
Yeah? What do I do? I have no other option.
So they went.
Let me go and try it. Yeah? And then somebody goes, but at the end of it, and they know that whatever they are hearing and they are seeing in the tele, case is coming dead. But then they insist they have to go. What do we do? As Mr. Hassan said, the agents, they are powerful people.
So what has happened to this person, this friend of yours?
Finally, there was a case of a group which was stopped in Nairobi, I think in Ruiru. And she happens to be one of them. They never went. I'm not sure whether they went or not, but then the fact that these agents are powerful people.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to deal with those powerful people, as Hassan said.
Thank you, Akim.
It's very tricky.
Thank you very much. Mwalimu Irongo in Kisii.
Yes, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
First, allow me to continue commending you for the good work you are doing. Sometimes I ask myself if all the government agencies and many other sectors in the private sector work the way you work to bring out real issues that are affecting us, how far this country would go. Now, allow me to make this comment that at one time I happened to have a house girl from Tanzania. So she came, she was brought by a friend of mine, a teacher who was working there then. The teacher comes from around my home. So when the girl came, she worked for about 2 months and then told my wife, you see, I'm shocked what I can see around here. So then my wife asked her, what is that? She told her, you see, you people allow me to eat on the table. We eat together, we talk, I watch TV. But most surprising of all is that, Mama, you never beat me here. So when they work in Tanzania, and here she's referring to when they're working under the Arabs. You know, Arabs are, we have so many Arabs at the coast, and especially in Tanzania. So they are actually beaten, denied food, they are really mistreated. So she was asking, sometimes I do certain things here which I consider to be mistakes, but when you don't punish me, you don't beat me, I'm shocked. So is this how people work around here? So the attitude of these Arabs is what all of you have correctly described as modern day slavery. Now, my suggestion is that what the CS is saying will not necessarily help, because the CS is saying that they will ban those who are traveling to over domestic work services. But we have also heard, and even from previous conversations, that when these guys reach there, they most of the time they don't end up doing the work for which they were told by the agents. So how do we know that these same agents will not indicate that they are going to offer different services there, only for them to reach there and then get turned to domestic workers? Yes. So if there is banning, my suggestion is that the labor force from Kenya should be stopped completely
for all work,
from going, for a period of time, so that the government of Kenya can regularize the travels and the work by, for example, ensuring that there is proper communication. Do you know when these guys reach there, they cannot communicate back here. They are not allowed to have phones. Their passports are taken away and so on and so forth. So all this is a crisis. And by the way, I hope not to take so long, but when you see the CS coming to admit this, it means there are so many things the CS has not told us in the interests of bilateral relations between Kenya and Saudi Arabia. So the CS, or rather the government, should come out, stop all these travels so that they can have a very serious conversation between the two countries, regularize the whole thing so that we can consider giving them our people, because we cannot continue burying our loved ones just because they have been burnt with hot water and so on and so on and so forth.
Moralimu, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Zachary Nakuru, good morning.
Good morning. I had to hold on for a minute. Now, how is everyone there?
Fine, thank you.
Very well, Zachary.
Oh, thank you. And it's a good discussion. Now, let me tell you this, that everybody should know that slavery did not end. It only changed its shape and form. Even you guys, when you are seated there, I know you are employed by somebody else, the organization. And the organization is looking to get the most from you. And sometimes you go and feel, oh, I'm overworked, but you have to do it because there are needs that you have to fulfill. Now, okay, let's consider this. Anyone going to Saudi Arabia or those Arab countries should know that their main religion is Islam, And let me tell you that Islam and their rules are very, very, very strict, From the behavior, from the way you go to sleep, from the way you wake up, they are very strict, And I would have preferred that the number, the 89 number, the magical number, you would have told us the gender, that these women came reported this, these men came reported this, because you kind of find that, like now, Mr. Eric, when you get paid at the end of the month.
I think a majority of them, just staying on a topic, a majority of them, because they were working in domestic, those who were working in domestic work were women.
This is the point that I make, When you get paid at the end of the month here in Kenya, no one will follow you how you are going to spend your money, whether you are going to go into a pub, whether you are going to go into the so-called night nurses, But in the Arab countries, those people are very strict. They are very, very strict from even the way you speak.
So how does that contribute to death?
Oh my God! Let me tell you. Right now, we are having someone who is doing this. We call them podcast. Yeah. Right away from my home, there is a guy. There is a woman there. They are talking about. Yeah. She went there. She has come back with the 2 babies that are got the genes of those people. They are up there. And then if you would hear at the story, and it is very unfortunate that they have done it in Kikuyu, I would wish they would translate it, yeah? Let the ladies here be told that when you are going there, if you are going to work in a home, in a person's home, kindly, even if the man advances you, the man of the house makes advances to you, can you kindly reject, and report the issue, Another thing is this, why don't, instead of saying that we ban the people from going there, because it's not that they go there for holiday, it is too much that is pushing them to do so. Then let us make it smooth or a way whereby those people who are going there to work, let them have a way of reporting that I'm facing this from my employer. Okay. It should not only go. It should not only go to the agent. Let even the embassy be involved.
Well, the embassy has 1,000 cases that they have that have been reported to them. But by the time somebody is reporting, they've gone through something.
Let them work on both now.
Okay.
And everybody should have a direct access to the embassy and say, okay, I want to be evacuated from this place because of ABC. Just that.
Okay. Thank you, Zachary. Thank you very much. Time for us to take a call. Short break. It's 9:30. What's happening on the roads? Ruben Kigami, I can see you calling. John Joroge in Mombasa and Karanja in Naivasha. You were on hold for a while. We apologize for that. You can call again, Karanja, after the break. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Very good morning.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources? Yet, we have real challenges in this country.
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions still in Nairobi this morning at 16 degrees, highs of 24 and lows of 13. Mostly sunny conditions in Nakuru at 18, highs of 25 and lows of 14. Nyeri still continues to rain at 15, highs of 22 and lows of 14. Sunny conditions in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 13 today. In Mombasa, mostly cloudy conditions at 27, highs of 29 and lows of 23, and it's partly sunny in Malindi at 28, highs of 30 and lows of 25. All right, in Kisumu, before we get to Kampala, light rain at 22, highs of 27 and lows of 17. Kakamega is sunny at 22 with highs of 26. It'll come down to lows of 16. In Kampala, 20 and cloudy, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam continues to rain at 28, highs of 30 and lows of 23. In Johannesburg, it's 18 degrees and sunny, highs of 28 and lows of 13. Lagos is sunny at 25 now. That rain has abated, highs of 30 and lows of 25. And it's sunny in Kinshasa at 22. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 31. Out in Beijing, it's raining at 19. That'll be today's low, highs of 20. And in in Paris, cloudy conditions at 14, highs of 22 and lows of 12. London is cloudy at 13, highs of 23, lows of 13. And we're looking at an early New York morning, cloudy at 18, highs of 24 and lows of 15.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so still continues on Mombasa Road this morning. Very slow, just around that certain part between the SGR, but it's not too bad now. So I think we're seeing that traffic on most roads getting easier to be able to follow. Coming off a thicker superhighway as well, much better now. Into the city centre. Not too bad. Coming off Ngong Road, coming off a thicker superhighway and other parts. We'll keep an eye on things. SpiceFM KE on Twitter through the mornings. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
5 minutes to 10. Yeah, we've been off air since 9:30 for a couple of minutes. Because of that thing we said, the sun outage. Okay? It happens around this time every year. Satellite, alignment, sun, manenos, signal, gone. 0719-012-600. Would you support the government's ban on travel to Saudi Arabia for domestic workers from Kenya? This is what we'd like to hear from you. Mtukufu Rais Ruben Kigame.
Good morning, guys.
Salama kabisa Mtukufu Rais.
Bado. Wacha tusiongee hiyo kwanza. Tuongee mambo ya labor.
Okay. Ruben, good morning. How are you doing today?
Very concerned about the revelations coming out of the Middle East situation there.
Yeah.
I want to make 3 very quick points. One is historically, labor is about business. And so slave trade, slavery is about willing buyer, willing seller.
Yep.
And Africa has been notorious in doing business with people from outside Africa in return for gain. So that we blame the Europeans and so on who took our Africans into the New World. But the chiefs in Africa captured fellow brothers and sisters and sold them in return for goods.
That's true.
It's the same thing that is happening now. Now, someone mentioned about the agencies. I would want to put a context to it to explain the fact that the elephant in the room is the agencies. I work with young people a lot, and especially college graduates and so on. At my house right now, I have somebody that I rescued from going to the Middle East. Now,
you rescued?
Yes.
All right.
They're staying with me right now. And as we speak, they've never got their documents back because in order to get their documents back, they needed to pay 65,000 shillings. I have them here. This is only one case.
Right.
I've dealt with several.
Right.
The place to look is agencies.
Just tell us, Ruben, because now you have the direct experience from people who have gone through the hands of the agency. How is it organized? How do the agencies reach out to the people, or is it the people who know what agency to go to? Where does it start from the very beginning to the end? How is this structured and organized?
It's a couple of things.
Okay.
Well, it's a couple of things. One is the referrals. So somebody who knows a hiring agency will tell a desperate young person, you've been looking for work for too long. You could actually get work overseas. And I know an agency that is recruiting. They say, I've been without work for so long, let me go. So you go to this office and you can actually travel. We are recruiting, but first of all, bring us your ID. Do you have a passport? And all of those things. So this particular one I'm hosting had both.
Okay. ID and passport.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll take your documents, in the name of processing and so on.
Yeah.
You pay a minimal fee.
How much?
Let me not disclose. In this particular case I'm handling, in order to get your documents back because you've changed your mind, and I'm the one who told this person to change their mind, because of at that point we were actually already receiving very bad reports from the Middle East, people returning in coffins and so on. I said, do you know that this could happen to you? At that point, she didn't care. And so the point is this, that to this day, she's never gotten the documents back. And so we're having to help them apply for an ID anew, because even tracking down the agency becomes difficult. It's all about communication changing, phone numbers.
And the offices, was she not going to an office?
Yes.
So they moved out of the office?
Well, the people that linked you are no longer available to receive your calls, and so you're dealing with different people and so on. So the agency, my point is, the agency is a place to look. Now, the recommendation to stop Kenyans going to the Middle East is not really the solution. The solution is check the agencies, because they are doing exactly the same thing for workers coming into Kenya from Uganda, from Tanzania, and neighboring countries in the name of desperation.
Yeah.
So we really need to vet. I think the Standard Group carried a report of a place in Nairobi where these young women were being prepared to go and work in the Middle East. Nobody's talking about that.
Wow. Thank you very much, Ruben.
The conditions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good yes, indeed, the place to look is at these agencies and how they're regulated, how they're registered anyway, and who owns these agencies. How can they be so powerful? John Joroge from Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, Joshua.
Good morning.
It saddens me that we have issues here in Kenya.
Yeah.
And our leaders never seem to understand exactly what makes us want to go out there and look for greener pastures.
Yeah.
The reason why those people go to work in Metro is because they're desperate. And they're desperate because of the situation back in Kenya.
Yes.
When you say you want to ban them from going there, that's a blanket solution. But there are nitty-gritties of why things are happening in the region. There is the guy who called from Mombasa, and he said those people don't like black people, especially when you are a Christian. Now, I want to pose this question. If people here mistreat their house girls, and we are the same people, what about those people who have no value of black people, and the government that don't care whatsoever about what happens to them? Because if Kenyan government could have been in a way showing that it cares for those people, if it can create a way for the people who in Saudi Arabia who employs our girls and our women to do the same. Because I have a friend who is an Arab, and just the other day he told me, I get surprised when people say they are being mistreated. Me, I'm getting a promotion. He's an Arab, he's a Kenyan, and he's a Muslim. So the people who suffer most are women who are the house girls. Because another lady friend of mine who has been to Saudi Arabia, she told me once they reach in the airport, they are taken to hospital and checked. And she told me there are things women go through that they don't want to discuss. Because they are there like slaves. You'll find that every man of the household wants to have a way with them. And when they complain to the women of the house, the women will always side with their husbands. If you go to the police, police can nowhere listen to a girl from Kenya who is a black. So you can imagine the situation. Yet we have people who have been given that mandate here, being paid by the taxpayers' money. Yet they have no idea exactly what's going on because they don't want to.
Yeah, that's true.
And the problem is, we give people jobs because they are connected. They don't have passion to do the kind of job they are mandated to do. That's why when I listen to the MPs and senators talk in the studio just the other day, and they told us we elect bad people. We are just there to work, nothing else. If you look at the military, the kind of military we have nowadays is pathetic. Because Njoroge, who is a good runner, a Pokot guy who is a good shooter, they can never be able to get to the force. They get their fathers who are connected to go and get those jobs. So the kind of workforce you find there are people who are there just to earn.
Yeah, they paid their way in.
Yes, they paid their way
It wasn't
in.
merit. John, thank you very much for the contribution.
You're welcome.
Asante sana. Audrey.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
I'm very fine, Audrey. Are you okay?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
fine.
okay. How is Kino?
Morning, Do.
Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning.
Kino is very cold, Eric.
Okay.
Yes.
The situation in the
So-
Middle East.
Yes. Before I comment, maybe just a little clarification. John from Naivasha, the guy who called just before you went on a break, was he saying that these women should not heed to their bosses when they're hitting on them? Let me understand. Was that what he was saying?
Basically, that was Zachary. Yes, he was saying know when to say no. Mhm.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure I got it right because that just astounds me.
Okay, why?
These women don't give in. They are raped. They do not give in. They are raped. They do not have an option of saying no. They do not have an option of saying no. These women are raped. And I actually was listening to the story of I don't remember her name, but the most recent one. When she came back, she was interviewed by Jeff and Nick on her Hot 96 when she was saying that after she was burned, they put her gun on the table and they're asking her. So when the police come and they ask you who burned you, what will you say?
Wow.
There's a gun at the table. What will you say? Will you say that it is my boss who burnt me? You can clearly see there is a gun there. So really saying that these women, it's like they brought it on themselves, is just outstanding. We still find a way to victimize the victims. I mean, what? It's just surprising for me.
What should we
So
do,
for me,
Audrey?
Since the government is unable to control this, since the government is unable to put in proper measures, let it just be banned completely. We have lost more
But
than
who
enough.
suffers then? I mean, there are other Kenyans who go there, and they say that they're thriving, they're okay, they're working there, they're fine.
Yes, okay, fine. But for every one good story, how many bad stories do we get?
Actually, Audrey, if you look at the numbers of people who work in the Middle East, the data isn't accurate, but it ranges from 100,000 to 300,000 Kenyans who work in the Middle East. Yes. So if you're looking at 1,000 people complaining out of, say, 100,000, what percentage is that? I am not saying that percentage should guide us. No, even if it was just one person complaining, that is large.
Enough.
Yeah, it's bad
Exactly,
enough. But
one too many.
all I am saying is, consider for a single second. Let's pause for a second. We have poured hot water on Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, but consider this economic migration is something that also happens within Kenya. Labor migration, economic migration. People from other parts of East Africa come to Kenya.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
we have refugees who come to Kenya. Now, ask yourself, when you look at the domestic worker situation in Kenya, how do Kenyans treat their domestic workers? By and large. Remember, domestic workers for very many communities was usually a poorer relative and a fairly young relative who was given domestic work as that, as well as that of looking after children. Over time, it has changed. In Kenya, we even have agencies where domestic workers are trained, and there's responsibility for them. So if you have a country in which we haven't streamlined the domestic worker situation, and yet we are part of the Federation of International Domestic Workers. We are part of it. We are members. We've signed to that agreement. You tell me, it's the same government that looks after the issues of workers in the country. Now you tell me, if that attitude is what we have, how well do you think we're going to be looking after domestic workers or people who are domestic workers who are abroad? Start with how well do we look after domestic workers within the country?
That is exactly my point, because they have been unable to regulate it. They are unable to.
No, they are unwilling. It's not that they're unable.
They're unwilling to do what ought to be done.
Yes,
everybody knows what needs to be done.
Yes.
Then what else is there to talk about? If they can't do it, or if they won't do it, how many more people do we have to lose?
Yeah, unfortunately, there are many. This year alone, 41 people have died in Saudi Arabia. Out of these 41, 28 are domestic workers.
Yes.
Looking at the pain of parents, of spouses, of family members, it's too much.
That's true. Thank
you,
Audrey.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sample some of the comments on social media.
All right. The government should bar those who are going to attend these domestic chores, since those guys demean ladies thinking they are desperate. This is from John Mwangi. The government should only allow those going to work in decent jobs, especially corporate and government jobs, where they can make a good follow-up of Kenyans. About changing rules, guys, they cannot. They are totally adamant and only stick to what they believe aligns to their faith and culture. So on that side, it's not going to happen. According to Negus Makari, yes, most of the blame lies with us, just like in the past during the slave trade. It wasn't Eurasians who captured Africans and sold them. It was us. These agencies are doing the same thing we are doing to ourselves. Jerry says, no, they should consider change their agreements and help those who are already working there. So don't ban it, but streamline and align.
Yeah.
And then that you don't have to change that. Joel says, I suspect there is a scandal in progress. It seems the broker is making a lot of money, which can change the conversation. Right? Al-Bashir says, the Middle East countries will ban Kenyans from going there, not the other way around. 1,000 plus in distress. Have we asked ourselves what are the causes? How many Kenyans are in prisons in those countries? You'd be surprised, he says. The problem is with us, the Kenyans, not the Arabs.
There's a larger problem here.
I think so, yeah.
Remember, one of the things that sub-Saharan Africa is known for, among other things, is the ever-rising population. Our birth rate is high. Some of these countries, the reason why they need labor is because their birth rate is low. They have declining populations. So if you're talking about the demand for the labor, it is not going to decrease.
You know what? Even as you say that, you see these job agencies that we talk about that are placing domestic workers, they are also doing the same for other cadres of workers.
Yes.
Especially in the medical profession. Doctors, and I'm talking specifically about Saudi Arabia, doctors, especially in the medical field, because
nurses,
of that gap that you're talking about.
Yes.
Doctors, nurses, lab
teachers,
technicians, and also in the education sector, teachers.
Yes.
So you have to ask yourself, why have you not heard that these problems, because there are Kenyans who go from here
and
work
there
in these other professions.
Yes.
Why have you not heard the same problems coming out from people who have been placed by agencies in those sectors? And also not just from Kenya, but from other countries in the world. Why haven't we heard the same problem?
Because those people are going to work in a structured organization with structures.
Exactly.
That's different from going to work to somebody's home.
Exactly. So it is already seen as though it is something that can be ignored.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. You're going to work in someone's home, all right. Maybe it doesn't really need regulation and structure. But we are seeing that it absolutely does. Probably more so than the others.
But when do consider, we are talking about government ministries and agencies within government, forget the private agencies, looking after the welfare of the common citizens. They mistreat the citizen on a daily basis. The very resources that are supposed to help the citizen's life become better are plundered. How do you think they are suddenly going to be concerned about this citizen who, as far as they're concerned, they've gotten a job, we've gone abroad. Done. Anything else? Bother.
You know, I'm still coming back to that point where the PS and the audio clip was played in the news. The PS in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is saying there's some of these questions you should ask the Minister for Labour and the National Employment Authority, because that's what they should be doing.
Shouldn't have said that.
You know, that's expressing some level of frustration, because clearly from the embassy in Saudi Arabia, there is information that is sent to the ministry here, headquarters in Nairobi, and it lands on the PS's desk. The PS must have forwarded this to the relevant offices, Ministry of Labour, Employment Authority, have a meeting, and those guys just seem not to be coordinated. So by the time the PS is appearing there and saying, you know what, my hands, this is it. Actually, there's only so much I am doing here. I need the support. I need CT. Actually, I need CT to talk. Well, I can't just do this show by myself when we have CT in the room.
This is where
I put on the mic, and CT is not talking.
Eric,
I need CT to talk.
I understand this term that we often refer to, collective responsibility. I understand it. But you know something, huh? Well, people's lives are at stake and people are dying. That sort of admitting, yes, that, my friend, is the very thing that is not required. You ought to say what you have done and what somebody else should have done and has not done. Say it. Say, look, folks, the way we work is this. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs does this.
Yes.
The Ministry of Labour does this. So when you hear this, yes. So when we have complaints, this is how we do it. It comes to me. This is what I do, and then I take it here and I take it here. Now, if those people do not respond, they do nothing. There's nothing more that I can do because it isn't my docket. Say it with clarity.
Put it out there.
But don't lift your hands up in the air. Because you're then saying you're complicit in the deaths of the people who are there, because it is you we look at. You're the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. State it for what it is. This thing of simply saying that the others say the others are so and so, so and so, and so and so, and so and so.
This is what they expected to do.
This is what they should do. In fact, they're the ones who are responsible for signing that agreement, and they're the ones who are responsible for signing that contract. We were together.
The ones who are supposedly regulating these agencies and the agents.
Yes.
So, and they have not done 1, 2, 3.
By and large, by the way, in that audio clip, that's what he says. He's saying there's the National Employment Authority that has the data of who's leaving the country, and who that also should be managing. The ministry should be managing these agencies. So I'm coming at the very tail end, once people have already left and gone into Saudi Arabia, and they're then registering with the embassy in Saudi Arabia. When it comes back into where is the problem, we need to have this conversation with these guys. And I think now it exposes a government that's just completely disjointed, and nobody wants to take responsibility for anything. We have seen it. We ask anyone, nobody wants to take responsibility. It's always about somebody else.
But we've heard it here. How many times have we heard it this week?
Somebody else.
It's the citizens who should vote in somebody who they think has merit.
It is State House.
It's members of Parliament.
It is the party.
Cabinet secretaries.
It's always somebody else. And when somebody really makes an effort, yes, I'm part of the people who you should blame. And there's a but which follows. But
I am one of the few good ones.
But
I've said my piece.
Yeah, yes. I'm one of the few good ones. I've made noise about this issue. In fact, you see, I went to Parliament.
Yes.
I said this and the other. It's a serious one, and I think we should explore it even in coming days. From the National Employment Authority, we should understand who are these people who are basically they're human traffickers.
That's it. Modern day slave traders.
When it comes
they're
to
slave
you,
traders,
and the buck has stopped with you because you happen to be the PS for Foreign Affairs, don't carry someone else's burden. Don't.
Drop it directly. Say.
Drop it on their laps and say so and so and so and so and so and so. Give details.
Let
those people handle it.
Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation this week. We'll be back Monday to Friday, God willing. We love the fact that you join us and all the company that you give us. And we apologize for those sun outages. I hope they're done. This is it. It's supposed to just be this week. Going off here at 9:30 for a couple of minutes, and then we come back. And this is all because of the sun alignment with what we call the satellites. Happens during the equinox. We're in the equinox. Happens in March and in September. City, today's proverb.
One who has not yet learnt to walk cannot climb a ladder.
One who has not yet learnt to walk cannot climb a ladder.
Not possible.
Okay. Do you know how to walk?
Thanks.
Right.
You're not asking me, you're telling me, Abby.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a ladder. climb. Okay. Have a lovely weekend. So, Sugar and Spice coming in at 11. And then we have got Edward Quach with Spice Drive coming in at 3. The adults in the room will be here from 7. And you'll have a lovely weekend. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.5